Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 474. I am Peter, and joining me, as always, is Matt.
I'm back.
Yeah, you weren't here last week, and I actually couldn't remember why you weren't here, so when I introduced David, I went, Matt's not here, he's off doing something.
I went to Astoria, Oregon, where the Goonies live.
Oregon?
And the Goondocks have been saved? Yes. So yes, and I cried. I cried a lot, Pete.
I'll be
Saw
honest,
the house.
if you said name as many US states as you could, I think I'd get close to all 50, but I think one of the ones that may trip me up is Oregon. I may not think of Oregon.
That's odd because there's so many things that you like that have been up around that area. Do you know Kindergarten Cop is also set in Astoria?
No, I guess I feel like it never like whenever they set something there, I feel like they don't bring it up as much as other locations.
Yeah. And I believe Rambo set in Oregon, or is that in Washington? The small town.
I don't know.
I know it's in the woods, so you know.
It looks Pacific Northwest-ish.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but yes, I went to Portland to visit some friends, go to a concert, and then we drove up to Astoria. And I went to all the Goonie spots and got very emotional about a house that I'll never step foot in, right? But they restored it, so it looks like Mikey and Brand's house, which is super, super cool. And yeah, then found out Astoria's they filmed a ton of stuff there. Short Circuit, right? You know, Johnny Five Alive.
I'm familiar.
Was filmed there. Yeah. The Free Willy, all the waterfront scenes were filmed there. Yes, please don't. Unless it's the whale. Keep the other Willy, all right? Keep your one-eyed Willy away, sir. And yeah, I was trying. There's some other stuff that's drifting away from my brain, but yeah, Oregon, especially that part of Oregon, was very friendly to the film companies in the 80s and early 90s. As kind of, you know, you need a place that's, you know, overcast and forested. Come on up. So it was a good trip. Happy to be home. When you're staying with people that have kids and you're not used to kids, oh boy, is that I felt like Arnold in Kindergarten Cop at times. So
very good. You know? Well, this is a DC Comics podcast. Everyone, we get together, we talk about the books we read this week. And coming up on today's show, we have Absolute Batman 12, Action Comics 1090, Supergirl issue 5, Green Lantern Corps issue 8, Birds of Prey 25, Batman and Robin 25, Batman Dark Patterns issue 10, Batman Gotham by Gaslight, A League for Justice issue 3, Superman the Kryptonite Spectrum, issue 2. Plus our Patreon's pick for the month was C.O.R.T. Children of the Round Table issue 1, so we'll be talking about that. And then I also have a Patreon book this week, another new release, and that is Red Hood issue 1, which we'll also talk a little bit about in the news in a bit. But that is what's coming up on today's show. So yeah, hefty week, all things considered. They were nice to us though and didn't have solicits until next week, which is actually very, very nice of them in this.
Very considerate, case. DC, thank you.
Yes, very nice of them. So yeah, I mean, I basically already asked how your week was. I usually do that after the rundown. Oh,
and then it was very chaotic because, you know, missing work and then coming back to work. There's a ton of stuff you gotta get caught up on, and then trying to fit comic reading into that. You know, I watched the first 3 episodes of Peacemaker to try to catch up on the new season. And it's still, you know, so I'd watched the first 5 and I was like, oh, I'll watch this all. And it had been so long since we had watched it that I was like, oh, we'll start back from the beginning. And it's still very solid.
So you're
very excited to get to
the first 3 of season 1, you mean?
Yes, first 3 of season 1.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm getting there. So there's a lot more to do with the new DC era, you know, as we are from what I've heard. You know, from little things around the edges. So I'm trying to think what else. As far as movies and stuff, I think that was it. Again, very chaotic week. So
yeah, I don't know if I did anything interesting movie wise, but I mean I had movies for shows and stuff, but like I did finish reading No Man's Land earlier this week. I think that was like the day after last week's show. Actually, I finished reading No Man's Land. The Joker does some pretty insane stuff towards the end of that story. It's funny because in the middle of No Man's Land, I was thinking the first time Joker shows up that he was a bit more cartoony and like, oh, this isn't quite the sadistic Joker, the crazy any dark thing might happen type character that we've all come accustomed to. And then by the end of the story, though, he does something so darkly heinous and but kind of darkly funny from his perspective that I was like, oh, okay, all right, Greg Rucka, I see what your game is.
Is this the thing with Gordon and someone around Gordon in his peripheral?
Yeah, someone closely related to Gordon who I was thinking throughout, oh, I wonder when that character stopped being in the comics, because they've not been in much, and I've read a lot of post No Man's Land stuff.
Yeah. Not there a lot, huh? I wonder why. Yeah. That's what I figured you were talking about, because that's like the big, with that character, what happens is like a big defining thing. So yeah.
No, that was good. I mean, that issue was a little bit mired with like some weird art, because it was like different artists doing different like sections, and it was a bit wonky. But the issue before that was an absolute Huntress like show stealing kind of issue, where it was like, hey, we're going to set up Huntress to be a badass forever because of this issue, and that was kind of cool. So it was fun. Finally reading through to the end of that and kind of closing off another sort of bit of DC history.
And that's late 90s. Is it quite early 2000s? At that point, or is it? It's
exactly all of 1999. It starts in January 99 and ends in December. For the last issue, the epilogue issue is set around New Year's Eve, gonna 2000. So.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah. So, I'll probably read Rucka's New Gotham, which was his detective run after No Man's Land at some point. Although I don't think I'm doing that straight away. But you know, I'll see what I feel like.
Very cool.
But so that was fun. But you know, I mean, obviously you missed the Superman Man of Tomorrow announcement from last week's episode. I trust you're excited that we're getting a Superman 2 in 2 years' time.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and you know, I love Corn Sweat and I love Holt. So now from what I'm gathering, it seems to be like a not so buddy kind of story. You know, that might be them having a team up to take on a bigger threat.
We're basing that purely on technically 3 pieces of art, but like, if nothing else, it tells us that Lex will factor into the story and that he's getting his power armor. That's all we can really say for sure at this point. But yeah, everyone's speculating wild about what it may actually mean.
Yeah. So and I really love Nicholas Holt's Luthor. It's really nice to not have to feel like, oh man, Luthor's just misunderstood. You're like, no, he's just a terrible person. So I want to see how far that goes. You know, into the story now.
Yeah, but it also means that if they try and redeem him, it's like, you need to try hard, because he was evil in that first movie. So good luck with that.
And I'm also hoping it's the tiger can't change his stripes kind of deal. Like maybe we'll get a feint that, oh yeah, maybe he is redeemable, and we find out that no, absolutely not. You know, so that's what I'm hoping. But I'm very excited, and it seems that with the speed James Gunn is working. It's almost like, well, does he have one of those writer machines or artist machines that, you know, that we accuse some of our creators of having? Because, man, pumping out a treatment that quickly is pretty wild.
I mean, 2 years between sequels was kind of the norm for a while. It was only recently where it's kind of... And it's not necessarily bad that sometimes they take more time for them, but... compared to Matt Reeves with the Batman Part 2, which will not be out until after the Superman sequel at this point, you know, it's it's a bit of there's a balance to be struck, but it is exciting that they're striking while the iron's hot and we're getting a sequel in a relatively decent amount of time. So let's go. Yeah.
Have you seen all the Clayface stuff that's been popping up?
I haven't.
Like some of the set dressing.
Oh.
Yeah. It looks pretty cool. I'm trying to not look at a lot of the stuff, but there's a lot of, you know, seemingly very familiar Gotham elements to maybe the Matt Reeves, you know, so maybe there's just taking some inspiration from that look and throwing, you know, the Clayface story.
I mean, they've outright said it's not in the same world as the Matt Reeves Batman multiple times, but it's not surprising that if they're doing a Gotham City that there's going to be some parallels to other Gotham cities.
Yeah. So it looks pretty cool. I'm very excited. I know I love Clayface, and it seems like they're doing a kind of a monstery inspired by the animated series, which I watched, funnily enough, when I was up in Oregon. My buddy put it on as we were talking, and we ended up watching the Clayface arc while I was there. I didn't even think about that till now. But yeah, it feels nice to be hopeful and energetic about DC movies, you know?
Yeah, no, it does. Feels great, even. So, we'll get into things, though. We've got a lot to talk about today. So, we'll look at the Kindle rankings, the list formerly known as the ComiXology Top 10. Just looking at how they're ranked as of right now on the Kindle store. Matt, what is your guess for number 1?
I mean, there's one absolute outlier, and it's got to be Absolute Batman 12.
That is indeed number 1. That is correct. So
now let me guess number 2. Though.
Oh, okay. Go on, you go.
I'm gonna guess this is the real game. I'm gonna guess Transformers.
That is correct.
Ah, look at that. I'm learning.
Yeah. Number 1 is Absolute Batman. Number 2 is Transformers. Number 3 is One World Under Doom. Number 4 is X-Men Apocalypse Alpha. I feel like there's a new X-related book of some kind that I've never heard of, every week at this point.
It's like it's the 90s. It's Bat book number 1, followed closely by an X book.
Oh, and Jeff Loeb's involved.
I'm sorry.
Oh well. Number 5 is Action Comics. Number 6 is Ultimate Wolverine. Number 7 is Captain America. Number 8 is Imperial War Nova Centurion. Rolls off the tongue. Number 9 is Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion, and number 10 is Batman and Robin. So, bit more Marvel leaning. Obviously, DC took the top spot, and there's a couple other DC books in that 10. That said, if we go just outside the top 10, Kryptonite Spectrum's number 11, Green Lantern Corps' 13, Aquaman 16, Gotham by Gaslight 17, Supergirl's 18, and Dark Patterns is 19, and Trinity, Daughter of Wonder Woman is 20. So, DC heavily filling out all of the top 20 there, but yeah. Do you know what's frustrating is that I was just reading comic book discussions online and whatnot, and people had mentioned that the writer of Absolute Martian Manhunter, Dennis Camp, was in the middle of a long run at Marvel on the Ultimates, and I was like, that makes me kind of want to read that. But then,
yeah, me too.
I sort of looked at it and went, but I never read any Ultimates before. I have so little knowledge about what's going on in the Ultimate Universe that it's kind of do I want to? Is that I don't know how many issues in it. It's 20 something issues in at this point. But I'm I kind of want to read it because of the writer now, but I also feel like, I don't know if I want to open that can of worms. It's weird.
Let me check with some of my Marvel friends. So I have a friend that's up to date with the Ultimate Universe. Let me ask if it's new reader friendly.
Yeah,
because I am curious about Dennis Camp, because that Absolute Martian Manhunter is really, really special.
Yeah, because it spins out of whenever Hickman rebooted the entire Ultimate Universe. So I don't know how much of that matters in terms of being able to read any of the Ultimate books right now, but curious all the same. Also writing that Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion, but it looks of at least that issue that's out this week. So
wow,
take that for what you will.
I'm looking at the League of Comic Geeks rankings on these, and that X-Men Alpha book I don't even see on here. So I wonder if that was something else. And yeah, I see Ultimate Incursion, but yeah, there were some that you were mentioning that weren't popping up immediately. So it just shows, kind of the different things that Kindle's doing.
Well, it's an issue 1. We always say this, League of Comic Geeks, the issue 1's always ranked lower because people haven't clicked on them yet.
Right, but I've scrolled a lot and it's not even popping up. It's not even showing.
Well, there's a good chance maybe what happened to Birds of Prey or Absolute Wonder Woman happened to it, and basically I'm saying don't care. It doesn't matter.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. But yeah, I was just curious to see what that X-Men Alpha book was. So
that'll start some X-Men crossover event, I would assume. Nothing I'm going to lose much sleep over, but that is the Kindle rankings for the week, and there is a bit of news. I'll get the quick bit of news out of the way first. I'm using news at that. Hattush is seeing some more delays. So it was meant to be either October and November or October and December for the next 2 issues, right? In fact, there's ads in all of this week's books saying October, saying part 5 of Hattush is in October, which is funny to me that they know it's been such a long gap. They know they have to advertise that it's like still coming in some form, especially since the new Batman book started. Issue 162, which is part 5, which they're advertising this week as October, apparently is now already slipped to November. So those ads are out of date already. And more amusingly, 163, the final of the first half of Hattush, is now not coming till January 2026.
Look, man, I'd be okay with them never finishing it.
And what's so funny about this to me is that Fractions Batman will have had 5 issues, maybe 6 issues even, by the time that Hattush issue comes out. This is hilarious how delayed this is.
Yeah, and look, man, I really liked Fractions Batman 1. I really did. So, you know, I'm okay with never having to read Hattush again. If they start popping up, I'm good.
Yeah, no, if they come out, you're reading them, Matt.
No, I don't have to.
No, you do.
You're not the boss of this car.
You do, or I will slap you silly. Okay, you need to finish Hattush. Right.
As the former actor that played Black Adam said, just bring it.
Mattush. Right? That's what this is. Yeah. You're Mattush.
Is that the sound of the slap you're going to try to give? Mattush. So here's my thing, though. Like we all know, I'm the cranky anti-Batman guy, although hasn't been true in a minute. There's a lot of Bat books that I'm enjoying. I have so many other good Batman books that I'm okay. Jeff Loeb, you know what, bud? Just go right for Marvel.
You have to see how the train wreck finishes crashing. That's what this is. You need to see it. It's important.
Oh, the humanity.
So Hattush is too late. I don't know what I'm trying to say. There's a joke there somewhere. I can't quite get to it. So the other bit of news, which is more serious, annoyingly, and like we're going to bring the tone of the show down a little bit here. So this week, Red Hood issue 1 came out, and as it happens, I have been spurred on to read it as a Patreon choice by one of our patrons. It will be the last issue I review because it's the last issue that's ever going to come out. In fact, not only that, DC are recalling issue 1 and refunding the stores, all the physical copy stores, for both issues that have been unsold and they're returning, but also issues they've sold to customers. I guess DC are doing that as a way to say, hey, we're not going to you don't want anyone to feel like, oh, we've been promised a series, you bought issue 1 because you invested in this and now it's not going to go anywhere. But they've done this. They've cancelled the book effective immediately. Issue 2 and 3, which were solicited, will never come out, and effectively they have fired the writer Gretchen Felker-Martin, and that is it. Now, why have they done this? Now, they've not really technically went into it in depth. They were asked for a statement, and they gave kind of a blanket response. I will read what DC's statement was. At DC Comics, we place the highest value on our creators and community and affirm the right to peaceful individual expression of personal viewpoints. Posts or public comments that can be viewed as promoting hostility or violence are inconsistent with DC's standards of conduct. Now, if I had just read that and didn't know anything, I would be like, that sounds fair enough. What the hell did they say? However, I think it's a little bit more cowardly than that. This to me feels like DC, or maybe Daddy Warner is maybe more accurate. It's hard to tell who up the food chains made this choice, but it sounds like that some people have complained about some things that Gretchen said on social media, and they are maybe just doing this as a way to be like, we don't want to deal with any controversy, so we are just jettisoning everything so that we can wash our hands clean of it and that's it. That's probably the best case scenario. It's still bad. I still don't like it. It's cowardly on their part, but that's better than DC themselves deciding to make a stance on what she said. Now, obviously, I'm dancing around here what she actually said. Basically, she was just very, I'll just say, vocally happy about someone who died this past week. Someone who I had never heard of, if I'm honest, until he was killed. But
how fortunate.
Yes, by all accounts, though, he seemed like a complete piece of shit. So, and said things, including, I mean, first of all, he was very transphobic, and Gretchen is trans, so that's obviously a part of a personal reason for why she said what she said. But also, he said things to the effect of, oh, children should watch public executions, almost ironically, given how he died this week. So he sounds like kind of a monster, and her calling him a Nazi on social media doesn't really seem that out of touch to me. I don't really have a problem with anything she said. I don't feel like she was promoting the assassination of anyone, but clearly people have pearl clutched and they've complained, and DC have, or Warner's, whoever's making these choices, have taken action. I think no one would have cared in a month. This seems a little bit reactive to me. It's not the exact same thing, obviously, but it kind of reminds me when James Gunn got fired from Marvel, and it was like, you know, yeah, I don't know, everyone kind of... The problem is, though, is it's so baked in politics where it's turned into this two sides thing, which we are not going to get into because it's just going to completely, you know, consume the conversation. But like half the people are very much on one side, half are on the other side, and it kind of feels like DC just want to avoid anything. They just want to avoid the controversy and the conversation and just move on, bury their heads, and hope that no one, you know. So I don't know. Like, it feels weird to have to make a statement on this. I feel like even talking on this show, it feels like anything I say is going to be taken as some kind of stance. So, you know,
which is why I'm staying mostly silent.
That's fair.
If anybody that knows me, that follows me, if we're friends, you're a listener, you kind of know my stance on a lot of this stuff. I just don't want to make it worse, right? It's one of those things. If you keep adding, you know, stuff to the stew, it's just gonna become a big mess. But yeah, I didn't realize that Gretchen was also the author of the book Cuckoo that got turned into the movie starring Dan Stevens.
Oh, I didn't realize that either. I've seen that movie.
Yeah, so I just looked up what else they've worked on. Primarily a horror author, right? So now I look at this Red Hood book and was like, oh, it's kind of a weird choice for Red Hood. What could have been? It's kind of just one of those things. I also feel like because it's a Red Hood book, it makes it easier for DC to pull the plug preemptively than if it was something, you know, bigger. You know, if this was like literally anything else, like let's say a detective comic run that had just started, right? I think that it makes it a little bit easier on their part to make that kind of a decision. So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate because I like when we get people that aren't necessarily comic book people in writing because it keeps things fresh, right?
Yeah, there's some stuff more related to the book that was a little bit controversial before this happened, even, which I'll get into when I review it later. Because it's more to do about like how she's going to treat the characters and write the story. So I'll talk about that when I get to the book.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's just, I always like getting those types of writers that come in that we're not familiar with, and it can, you know, breathe a fresh air. As much as I like our typical guys, our Tom Taylors, our Scott Snyders, or whatever, getting fresh blood in every once in a while is nice. So that's a shame that you know, pulled the plug a bit too soon before it could fully form. But yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it.
Yeah. I just think this is a poor choice on DC's part. I don't think this should have been as much of a hubbub as it was. And I guess the other thing that I would add on here, in as much as there's different leadership and stuff from this time, I do think that this having such swift action when people at Scuttle Abdel were there writing for ages, even though they'd been accused of certain things, I think is a bad look. It's like, wait, so a trans person speaks out against someone who's openly called for, you know, transphobic laws and things like that, but someone who, you know, has been accused of various like sexual harassments, and this, I don't know if he was ever accused of assault, so I won't say that, but certainly harassments, like that was just kind of like ignored for however long. And maybe that's because Didio liked him and he was there at the time, and whatever the other reasons might be, there could be reasons for it beyond just like a hypocrisy or a double standard. But it is worth pointing out, and it does look not great. So we'll move on. We don't have to dwell on it any more than this, but it is worth mentioning to just inform everyone why that book's not around anymore. And if you did buy a physical copy before it was pulled, I mean, I don't know how strict they're being. Like, some stores might still just sell what they've got because it's there. But I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, if you got it, hang on to it. It could be worth something because, that's what makes comics worth things. The reason why Action Comics is worth so much is there's not that, or Action Comics #1 from 1938. There's not many of them left, right? So scarcity equals value. So hang on to that if you got it. But yeah.
So we'll move on. But some controversial / downer news to start off the week this week. Kind of sucks, but hey. All right, let's get into the books then, shall we?
Hey.
Absolute Batman issue 12, Scott Snyder writing with Nick Dragotta on the art. So. Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna cut your legs out from you before you can get them.
I was gonna say.
I already. I already addressed this on a site that you're no longer on, so you probably hasn't seen it. But I put up a mea culpa as soon as I read Absolute Batman 12 that I have never been more wrong on any take that I've ever had. Okay? So that's me telling Pete he was right. And when I'm wrong, I say I am wrong. So just getting that out of the way. We don't got to beat that dead horse.
It's always so funny to me though, Matt, is because I knew I was right when we were arguing about it, and I just was like, okay, he's going to be so wrong as soon as the next issue comes out. So it's, you know what, fine.
Yep.
We can move on.
I was just wanting to, get it out there before. So here we are. I
think it's that, and also before Mad Max Fury Road came out, you kept saying you didn't think it looked very good, and I was like, Matt, this looks great, the buzz is good, it's going to be a good movie, and you kept saying, no, it looks like shit. And then he saw the movie, and the amount of crow he had to eat was delicious.
It was a murder of crows. All right. I think I remember I messaged Pete after Mad Max. I get out of the movie theater, and I went... Yeah, so Mad Max, right? Like, that's pretty great, huh? So, I definitely did a Charlie from Always Sunny be like, oh, what are we talking about? I didn't say that.
That's a swish 10 years ago that happened.
And that said, I've seen it in the theater again, and then I went and saw Furiosa and had a great time. So yeah, people can be wrong, namely me, which as if you talk to my wife, it happens all the time. So that said, instantly Dragotta back onto this, I think helped, especially with a lot of the things that are depicted, because that last artist I didn't feel had the same kind of the vibe as Dragotta.
I mean, Clay Mann's a very different type of artist.
Yeah. So this issue was instantly just improved by the art, and then me not being a complete and total idiot on reading things. So that's all. I'm just gonna leave it there.
So Matt Bam was rescued by Croc, as happened, and this issue kind of starts with something actually quite dark, where Croc basically begs Batman to kill him. He wants it to be, he thinks this is awful, he doesn't want to exist like this, he says it hurts, the hunger's too much, he doesn't want to be a killer, kill me. And Batman says he can, and he roars at him, and he's like, I should have left you in place. And Batman just sort of left, like, yelling out into the sewer, going, no, Wayland, come back. So, it starts off with that. And the theme of this issue very much is all the bad things that have happened to Batman's friends. Because, as kind of the last issue implied at the end with Bane showing up, it was like, oh, is he going to be responsible for all of their, like... not necessarily villainous turns, maybe they'll still sort of stay in the side of good like Croc kind of has so far, but they've all, like, their physical transformations have all happened as the result of Bane.
They, with the exception of Riddler, they are all very much what we would expect, right, from those characters. they're much closer now than they were the issue before.
I mean, Penguin's a bit more heightened than normal. Like,
yeah, that's what I said. That's why I said more or less. And then Riddler, there is that aspect of him that, you know, with the riddles and wanting to figure things out, but his physical representation here is definitely a new take, I would say. And then Two-Face seems to be the more traditional once we see him without the bandages, right? Because he's still fully covered. And it's a lot worse than just having a mob boss throw acid on him, right? The description that Snyder goes into of what Bane did to Harvey.
His skull was cracked open.
Yeah. And then he was thrown into, you know, a chemical, and that did damage. It definitely showed Snyder's horror roots, right? That's where he had started. And I think that's cool when he can do that and make it work in Batman, right? Because there are definitely some horror elements that can pop in every once in a while, but especially throughout Absolute, I feel we've gotten them a lot more, and they were really on display here. Yeah,
there's like a flashback to Bruce and Selina almost getting an apartment. Like they're at a viewing and they're talking about it, but they're also talking about the fight Wayland wants to do that they don't think he can win. Bruce wakes up after a month of being asleep, apparently, with Alfred there, and you know that kind of sets us off. And you know when he goes off to see his mother and that, and like she freaks out because she's not seen him. She was giving up hope. There's like a really dramatic kind of hug. It's all in silhouette, which is really cool because it, you know, you really feel the sort of the, I don't know, just the everything strips away to just the simplicity of the hug. It's really good.
Well, but not before she slaps the absolute piss out of him.
Oh, like, she's mad.
Yeah, panel. Yeah,
she's mad. That
don't ever do that again. And then that hug, and I still just the way that he towers over her, right? And she's on her tippy toes in that silhouette to hug her son, too. It's such a tender moment.
Yeah, I mean, if I have a critique here, honestly, it's just that Snyder pulls the same trick twice, because the end of this page is like Martha mentions, oh, after what happened to Ozzy, and he's like, wait, what happened to Ozzy? And then you'll cut to him at the hospital, and Penguin's like on a hospital bed, and he's all kind of disfigured, and like because every bone's been broken and all the rest of it. He's going to, you know, hobble for the rest of his life, kind of like, you know, he's obviously got a more of a shape like a traditional version of the Penguin now as well. But it's all, you know, he's not just like a fat guy. He's very grotesque here. It's body horror stuff.
He kind of resembles the you know Elephant Man from the David Lynch movie, right? Like he's all out of proportion and whatnot. And it says that he broke bones in multiple places, but spared the vital organs. So it was done in this painstakingly way. And if you look at his hands, they're wrapped. They look like flippers now too.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
You know, so yeah, just very much a body horror take on Penguin. And yeah, again, and then all the art from Dragotta is done with those muted tones, and the red really pops. So again, it gives it that little extra sense of danger.
Yeah, but what I was getting at though when I said he pulls the same trick twice is at the end of this Penguin scene where they're explaining what happened to him, Bruce just kind of casually says, "Oh, is Harvey been by recently?" And then the doctor's like, "Harvey? Did they not tell you?" And I'm like, wait, you've just ended two scenes the exact same way where like a name comes up and then it's like, oh, did you not know about the other part? To the point where I was worried that they were going to do the same again for Riddler. Like I thought they were going to do it 3 times and I was going to be like, come on.
Oh, Eddie's actually in the room up the stairs and one over, right? Like, yeah.
So yeah, obviously we see Harvey lying with his bandages on, and you know Harvey tried to fight Bane. So we get these muted color flashbacks as Batman seeing the results. But yeah, there's we have a poker chip now that's like burned on one side instead of a coin, so that's like a slight difference.
Well, I like that because it was their poker game that Harvey organized, right? And we've seen that with Bruce showing up. So yeah, I like that now too. It adds that little extra dimension too, because instead of being like a two-faced quarter which plays about chance, it's actually a poker chip, right? And that's all about putting your bets in. Right, and it has a bit more agency to it. So I like also that take on Harvey, where maybe this is his choice to go this way now, right?
Yeah.
And I also like that the speech bubbles here. They got that traditional Two-Face like scratchiness around them, you know. So I feel that'll become more part of the character as we go. But yeah, just harrowing stuff, man. That panel in the middle of the page where it's going through what he went through that looks like his face is on fire. that's just Dragotta playing with that small strip of space, and it just it gives me the creeps.
It's actually very similar to the Dark Knight and how Harvey gets his face, because he's sort of lying with one side and the fuel or whatever it is, the chemical, and you see the match go down after the poker chip that's on fire. And then at the end of that scene, Harvey says, "I only hate you half the time." You know, he blames Bruce half the time. So we're sort of putting some of that in. And yeah, the Riddler's whole thing is that he's like kind of like part cyborg now. He's got like tubes going into his brain to try and like access his like processing power, his brain processing power better.
Yeah, is this a Brainiac thing too? Because it looks very, very similar to a Brainiac drone.
I don't think it's necessarily meant to be, but I can definitely see the parallels to it. Yeah. And he's got no eyes anymore. He's got like these I don't even know what you call them, but these like black circles where his eyes would be. Yeah,
they're almost just like sensors, right? Like that RF, like your IF, what's it, infrared sensor, on the TV. They're just these black voids.
Yeah, because there's a panel of Bane like putting his fingers into his eyes. So yeah, so super gnarly stuff. This is like just everyone he cares about is just gone. We do get another little flashback with Bruce and Selina where, one of the things they talked about was like wanting to like, well, the whole thing with the fight is if we don't think we can do it by playing by the rules, maybe we should go outside the rules. And they show up to, was it Falcone they go to?
Yep, Carmine.
Who's playing golf, and he's like bankrolling the opponent, or maybe the whole like promotion. And they're like, hey, we've got all this money, and he's like, oh, you're here to pay me off to cash out, like, is that what this is? And they're like, hey, this is all real, we know it's real because we took it from your apartments, like we stole it from you, which makes sense given that Selina's who she is, that was a possibility. So yeah, so they say they want to make a raise for the fight, so we'll see kind of how that shapes up next time. But
I like it how he's at the golf course, right? And he's not even really paying attention to them. And then, he asks what's in the bag and how does he even know that it's real? And it just cuts to Bruce going, maybe because it's yours, stolen from your apartments that you own. And then just the representation of him, of Carmine's mind of the broken T that just says SWAC underneath it, right? Just the casualness of Bruce going, well, maybe it's because it's yours. I like that.
Yeah, you almost get the sound effect playing in your head as the realization kind of kicks in. But I think the main purpose for, obviously it's building up to something in the future as well, but the main purpose to me of those flashbacks with Selina is just to keep her in your mind. Like, so that, like when she appears at the end in the main story, it feels like, it doesn't feel out of nowhere. So, the whole thing, Batman's with Alfred, and like Alfred's like, we have to play this smart, like you have to like fight through this now that all this has started, and the sensors go off that indicate someone has breached this bat safe house, this bat cave, and Alfred gets a minigun at the ready whilst Batman's got his axe, and they're getting ready to like fight, thinking that Bane or people that work with Bane are coming. But then you start to see this like sort of fancy whip come in, and you're like, oh no, this isn't Bane. Cue the cliffhanger. Catwoman has finally made an appearance in the present day part of the story, and her outfit, or I say her outfit, her mask mainly is got kind of similar to Black Mask's thing, where it's like a sort of dome quality with the ears, which does look a bit funky. But I will say this, I did see like a concept art sheet of this outfit online, and I think the thing that stuck out to me is why they've decided on this is because they want to play with this idea of constantly having reflections on her cowl. So I'm curious to see how this works out in like the forthcoming issues. Well,
I like the idea that she might have stolen it from Black Mask, right?
Oh, sure.
Like she's taken that technology and she's using it for her own means now, which again is very Selina, Just back to that Alfred, I was immediately thinking of Jesse Ventura in Predator, right? As he said it, I was like, man, what if this is like a Jesse Ventura Alfred? We've never really had that before. But yeah, that gave me quite a chuckle. This set, and it looks great, right?
We've never really had that before. That was such a specific thing to say, and then say we've never had. Of course, we've never had that before. It's so ultra specific.
Yeah. Yes. So, but yeah, no, that page 2, the way that it plays with the shadows and the red, and Bruce looking huge with the axe and the minigun, like that's almost poster quality, you know.
Oh yeah, it's a big full page spread. Yeah, you know, just a hint of red light coming from above, but it's mostly just dark blacks and greys as they're gearing up to take on the fight that's coming. But it is interesting. Like, okay, so why is Catwoman here then? Like, is she here because she cares what's happened to the friend group? Because she did care about them too, as far as we know.
Yeah, she was part of that friend group as far as we knew, because I think the first time she's brought up, she hasn't been around in a minute, right?
Yeah.
Thinking back to the first arc, so yeah, maybe, you know, she knows that's Bruce, so maybe she's gonna try to be like, "This is on you. We got to fix it as much as we can."
I wonder how much, like, is she just figured out that it's Bruce, or did she know before the rest of them did? Like, did he like actually tell her some of what he was planning to do as, you know, becoming Batman before she left? I think that's really on the table here.
It very much seemed like that was his partner before, and I don't mean like romantic partner, but kind of in that they were a team. Yeah. You know, they were trying to get the stuff done for Croc. They robbed Carmine, and then whatever happened, and now they're back together, you know, and they'll have to work on this. But yeah, why was she gone? That's the big kind of thing. What was she up to? But yeah, it's a really fun introduction to Selina in this universe. You know, she comes in all sneakily with that cool looking whip. And then, like you said, I didn't even pick up on the reflection until you mentioned that. Like, oh yeah, playing off the reflection and the art and having that, you know, as the thief and whatnot. Very cool.
It's a nice big surface that the artist can really do something on, as opposed to like a little, like, because you can maybe do a little reflection in like the goggles or whatever, but like it'd be so small unless it's like a super close-up panel that it would be hard to do anything with detail. Whereas with this helmet looking thing, like there's a lot of surface to play with if you want to do with it. So I mean, I think that's interesting. I think this issue is, like, you know, really playing up the whole, this is a super dark version of this unit, like of Batman's world, because of, you know, you feel kind of sorry for all of these, like, what are usually villains and how they've become what they are, and in a lot of ways they're all becoming what they are because Batman exists. Like, there's, you know, Bane came and did this to them because they know him, so there's like a direct line of guilt which he will no doubt feel forever.
It's different from the escalation argument that we get from Nolan at the end of Batman Begins. Right? Whereas the reason that they all show up is because now Batman showed up and he has the theatrics, and now there's, you know, the Joker running around that they tease. This is a different version of that escalation, where the reason that they're all messed up and turned into these rogues is because of their association with Bruce Wayne, not just Batman, right? They were Bruce's friends, not Batman's friends. So I like that little twist.
Yeah. So no, it's good stuff. I don't think it's quite as amazing as the last issue, but I do think it's really good. Art is great. Dragotta is nice to have back. I think his detail on things like Croc, or the grotesque like version of Penguin, or even Riddler, actually, because like Riddler with the brain tubes and like the very techno horror sort of look that he's got going is really cool. So. No, I'm still having a lot of fun with this. I'm having fun with how we get to like similar ideas of the same thing, and we have some cool stuff with the story going forward. And you know, it's exciting to see why Catwoman's here. So what are you giving Absolute Batman issue 12?
I'm gonna give this a 9, despite the fact of the repeated, you know, well, what about Ozzy? What about Harvey? Yeah, the rest of it's super solid, and I can't fault much of it. So I think a 9's fair.
Yeah, I think my critique with that repetition is that the second one made me laugh because it had already happened, and I don't think I'm supposed to be thinking it's funny. But yeah, I would. I'm going to go with 8.5. So it's close to the 9 for me. Just slightly missing it. I think just because of structure more than anything else. But a lot of good moments in here I liked. I really liked the opening with Croc, actually, as well. I liked the sort of the plea, like, just end my suffering now, and Batman refusing. Yeah. So, cool stuff. All right. Action Comics 1090. Mark Waid writing with Skylar Patridge on the art. So the adventures of Superboy continue, and I gotta say, I quite like this issue. You know, like my misgivings of like not liking the concept of Superboy, like aside, like this was a pretty well written issue that flowed really well. The characterization, him being nervous around Lana, Lana's reveal that she's like, because he's like, oh, is she into me? And he's excited at first, but then he's like, but wait a minute, what if she's only into me because I've got like super pheromones? What if this is like a power and she doesn't actually like me genuinely? Oh no, now I feel bad. But then the little twist is that she's actually got the hots for Superboy and not him, and it puts him in that weird, you know, love triangle with himself thing that's sort of classic Superman at this point. So
Clark Kent is destined to be in a love triangle against himself. And that cracked me up so much. This whole super pheromones thing too, is that such a teenage stupid thing, right? Where he's like, oh, I gotta turn him down somehow. I can't have her like this. That's not fair to her. And that's all he's thinking of. It's like, well, no, he's not thinking like, oh, maybe she likes me because we're friends and we've grown up together. And you know, it's just like that. Like Ma's trying to tell him. No, it's the super pheromones, and that was so funny. And again, this is the Waid that was writing the Archie comic back then. Like he's weirdly very good at these teenage dynamics. So this was a whole lot of fun to read.
Yeah, I think it's just he's just good at doing. Not even like his solo character sounds a bit off because like I think his supporting cast are very good. But when he's doing team books, he just loves playing with the toys and everything's kind of just a big smudge of like things happening. But when he's doing stuff like this, or he's doing like Batman and Robin Year One, or he's doing like he's Daredevil, or things that he's done in the past, like there's just a really good through line. It feels like he's got a real end goal in mind. You know, like the start of the issue is like them trying to like test how fast he is. Like the Kents are like timing how long it takes for him to go around the entire planet, and it ends up being 24 minutes, which is nice and fast, but not like, you know, absurdly like go encroaching on the Flash territory. So that's nice. Right. But the joke at the end is that, you know, he's went so fast that his suit is burned up along the way. So he's embarrassed, and they're laughing their asses off. Although they can't afford another outfit before the farmer's market, so try not to ruin this last one we've got. So that's all going on. Obviously, lingering in the background, you've got the Captain Comet stuff, and like when's that going to intercept? And it does by the end, obviously, but we do a lot of like the fun teen stuff of him dealing with his powers, him dealing with the girl Lana, and you know, really playing with that for most of the issue. And to be honest, that stuff's the stuff that I was really digging in this issue.
The back half is fine, like when he goes to fight the telekinetic guys, but yeah, everything up to the diner where he has to leave. And Skylar Patridge here, very expressive. Like all of the smiling from Lana has that kind of girly, you know, head in the clouds thing that you see in like teen shows and teen movies, and it's perfectly nailed. Like I don't think if the art was as expressive, it would hit the same. Because the Waid stuff's really good too, but it's really working in tandem with the art here. And yeah, it makes you kind of have those feelings, you know, of his nervousness. When you look at the smiling Lana, right, you understand why Clark's a little bit nervous, right? This is unfamiliar territory for him. Like he could race around the world in 24 minutes. He can't handle sitting across the table from a girl. That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, he gets kind of frustrated once she reveals what like he's relieved at first, but then there's like this weird like, but you've not even seen his face properly. Like he always moves too quick, and she's like, no, I know he's got a nice smile. I bet it's heavenly.
And his blue eyes are such a dude. He's like they're more of a cobalt gray. Wait, what does he say? I gotta find it now. More of a dull gray, like an elephant's butt. It's like, buddy, you're talking about yourself. Like, you're jealous of yourself. And again, that is so funny.
No, I mean, it's all very delightful. And then I do appreciate that when, like, you know, Captain Comet contacts him telepathically and says, hey, there's, like, stuff happening at this factory or whatever it is. It's the villain that was in like the very first part of this run that showed up from the future, and he's got some allies now. So I like there's a through line. As much as they're not exciting as characters, I appreciate that it's like, hey, we're still continuing with those villains that showed up before. We're not introducing yet another group for no reason.
Yeah, and the fact that it's I always get like the Phantom Zone criminals when it's one main villain and then the two side guys, right? So I was getting like Zod and Ursa Non kind of vibes here from these two, which I thought was a little nice. You know, if it wasn't on purpose, it was still something that I picked up on.
Sure.
So kind of a nice little homage.
But yeah. And Patridge's art here is good. There's a nice flow to all the action. I mean, I think she excels especially with all the human drama stuff and the fun teen stuff. But I think the tone of like the art, and you know, that's like partly line work, partly the coloring. I think fits the teenage kind of like optimism and like, you know, nostalgic quality that I think the story's going for. So you know, so sometimes the biggest compliment, as much as it sounds boring, the biggest compliment you can give something when it comes to talking about art in a comic book or even like cinematography in a movie or music in a movie is that sometimes the biggest compliment you can give it is that it's appropriate. Because more often than not, when something's not working, it's because it's not appropriate to what the vibes are supposed to be. And I think this is a case of the art. They picked the right artist for this. Yeah, is what I'm saying. For sure. And so the lab that they're at is Dr. It's Morrow, right? He's the is it Magnus? Dr. Morrow's the red one. It's Magnus. Yeah. I always confuse the two because the M's. So do I. But yeah, he's the it's the Metalman guy, right? And so he hasn't created the Metalman yet. And Clark's, you know, narration from present day. Yeah. You know, so you get a little bit of hints to it that there's even some kryptonite in there. Yeah, it's an element. We never see it, but we hear them talk about how that there's rare metals here and stuff that's kind of like off the beaten path. And then Clark starts describing that he was feeling, you know, woozy. There's a pain, something that he's not felt yet. You know. So this is the first time he's ever felt the effects of kryptonite, seemingly. So the end of the issue though is that Sam Lane shows up, and Superboy is like, "Hey, you know, nice to meet you, General. You know, it's good we could work together," or whatever he says. And then he's like, "Oh, you misunderstand, Superboy. You're under arrest." So the final page is a full page spread of him looking kind of shocked as like a SWAT team of soldiers are now around him, pointing guns at him. So yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's still that little thing of like, so does Captain Comet not mention that Clark Kent is Superboy ever? Seemingly not, because like otherwise the continuity is going to be all thrown willy-nilly. But I did think of that a little bit again. I mean, I'll let it go and just enjoy the story, but like you know, it is there, right? I'll just mention it. Yeah, no, for sure. And again, I don't know how Superboy is going to get out of this. I know how Absolute Superman would get out of this. Well, we've seen him surrounded by soldiers, you know, in every issue. So is he going to be able to talk his way out, right? Does he have to? Can he just fly up through the roof and go away? That's what I'm saying. Like, but I feel like with the way that Waid has characterized him, I feel like there's going to be a thing. I think he'll fly off, would be my guess, just purely because he's like, well, I don't want to hurt all these people that are like, you know, coming at me. So like he probably sees flying away as the best option. The easiest. I know. Maybe I'll try and talk to them first, but like it seems like that would be where I assume it's going to go. Or maybe Captain Comet shows up and it goes a different path. I don't know. Yeah, that could be too. And then also real quick, the way that he dispatches Rays in the other two, it's very comically almost like a horror movie where he's coming up to the ground and pulling them under. That's right. Yeah. And I thought that was really funny. Ray's being the villain who was in the arc at the start, just because I never remembered his name, but you said Ray, so I'm just pointing out. The only reason I said that is because I just looked at it on the page. Of course. But yeah, pops up, takes the other two through the thing, through the floor, and again, just very, very comical. And then Superboy takes the helmet that gives him the telekinesis, and crushes that, and that's where he notices the kryptonite. And there's a real fun coloring thing where the whole background behind Superboy is green, you know, so it makes the blue and the red and everything pop, but you get the whole vibe of the kryptonite sickness. And again, so talking about how Patridge's art is just, it's fitting, so you know, everything just works out. And correct me if I'm wrong, we never see the kryptonite, right? He just sort of feels the effects. No, it's there because it's listed as element X next to the hematite with the rare metals. Yeah. So
it's there. It's just not close to him because they pulled it. Why he gets sick is they pull it out of the drawer. So now it's out in the open. Did
we actually see it though? Did we see it? Like, did we see the green rock on panel?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
If you go to that page, it's where one of the robots has Superman by the neck, or Superboy, rather, by the neck. But yeah, no, it's definitely there. It also makes me.
I didn't notice that, and I was thinking, it's an interesting choice not to just show it outright, but I just clearly missed it, so it's fair enough. But
yeah, well, it made me think like, oh man, could Doc Magnus put in a responsometer into a big hunk of kryptonite? Like I've never read a comic where that's happened, So that was something.
Oh, that's right, because he puts it in his back, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, this is going to fuel me or something. Yeah, okay, right. Give me the power. So, blah blah blah. Yeah, okay. I mean, I think it's a fun issue. I think Waid is good at writing when he's focused and he's got a story to tell that's not just big fight every issue with like 50 characters. And I think this is like, as much as I am not a fan of Superboy, the concept, this is still much better than his Justice League Unlimited and his World's Finest, because it's just better told and it has good art that fits the story. So it was delightful. It was a delightful read. I have no real qualms, honestly.
No, me neither.
All right, what are you rating Action Comics 1090?
I'm also going to give this a 9. I really enjoyed this one.
I don't know if I'm going to go that high. I think I'm going to solid 8 out of 10. I think this was a great issue, but I'm not going to shoot to the moon on it. So there you go. Supergirl issue 5, legacy number 274. Sophie Campbell writing with Paulina, Ganucheau, and Rosi Kämpe on art. I probably butchered those names. Apologies. The zoom outs over the A, which means I probably definitely did, but
yeah,
I'll give it a try.
Closer than I would have been. So I'm gonna give you credit there.
Yeah. So this is like a silly issue, basically, revolving around the animals, the super pets, and that includes Tiny Titano. What do we call them?
Tiny Tano.
That's the one.
And also the idea that Streaky doesn't consider themselves a pet. Right, because it's a cat.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, we'll get to Streaky. Streaky's the back half of the issue.
Yeah, but just that whole point was like, well, but I'm with the super pets, so I'm gonna help anyways. Very, very funny.
Yeah. So we also have the bunny that the Lesla had as well. So we have 4 animals. We get 2 pairs. We get Krypto with the bunny, and then we get Tiny Tano with Streaky in the back half of the issue. And the basic thing is that Supergirl and Leslie are away to do something, and the pets just run off. Lena was supposed to look after them, but they're super pets, so they just whoosh away. And the joke in the first half is that the bunny keeps firing heat vision at Krypto, thinking, oh, we're still enemies, I think Leslie will be happy if I kill this super dog. And Krypto's like, oh, she's trying to play, I think. But they end up working together, and then the overall story here is the idea that by the end, the bunny realizes, oh, I kind of like working together with the dog. I will stay allies for now. But it's like Krypto's kind of won the bunny over by the end of this half of the issue.
Yeah. Because just as Krypto's a good boy, and Krypto wants to help, and they end up fighting that princess shark from earlier, I think the first issue, and at one point the bunny gets chomped by this other shark, and Krypto headbutts the shark and saves the bunny, and that's kind of what makes the bunny realize, like, oh, we can work together, but I'll keep my eye on Krypto.
And it's all thought bubbles because they're not talking, obviously, but they're all thinking, so they never know what the other one's thinking, and that's part of the humor. At one point when they team up, they say super pets dual attack, and their heads are both coming towards the reader. Some fun stuff. I will say though, like, this issue made me realize that there's kind of a ceiling on this book, right? It's like this is clearly like fun, it's cutesy, and there's some nice like entertainment to be had in it, but it kind of feels like it's never going to get into like, oh, I'm really invested in the overall story. Like, because I think even at the end when there's a cliffhanger where Supergirl collapses, it just kind of comes out of nowhere, and I'm just kind of like, okay, like that's a fine little cliffhanger, but it's not. It's because I was thinking about, because when the shark showed up, right, Princess Shark, I was thinking, okay, I'm thinking of Jeff the Landshark from West Coast Avengers, right? Kelly Thompson's book. And I'm thinking, okay, that book would have silly things like that in it. But I think the difference is that in West Coast Avengers, and to be fair, most of Kelly Thompson's books, is that I tend to find the characters and the relationships a lot more of like a good strong backbone, that even the silly stuff all around it never like makes it feel like just a silly book. I think this feels like it is just kind of a silly book, and that's okay, but I kind of got the feeling in this one where I was like, I'm never going to be like super into the story overall, I don't think, in this run.
Yeah, I would agree with all of those, and I feel like the Kelly Thompson stuff rises above the silliness because it uses it as like a seasoning, whereas this is all the silliness, and so it's kind of hard to see it through, you know, because like we got to the end of the last issue and we saw the stray cats eating the goop, right? And that gets addressed here in the back half
and wrapped up,
and then that's still
it's done.
Yep. It gets wrapped up. And so I will give Campbell credit for being able to tell these kind of one-shot stories that kind of only bleed into the next issue, and they're very self-contained and they're very light and fluffy. But I don't know if I want a Supergirl book that's always that, you know?
I mean, I'm fine with it for now. Like I had a good time, but it's just kind of this like acknowledgement of, it's never going to be like this type of run, I guess. And I think now that we're, what was this, 5 issues in?
5?
We really have a nice sample size now to be able to kind of feel what we're going to feel about it. Because I mean, the first 3 issues were an arc. Don't get me wrong. But like I think. Yeah, like this is kind of the tone that it's going to be, and it's maybe not quite as to my taste as what I thought the book could be when we started reading it. And I was thinking it was going to be a certain thing, and maybe, it's still fine. Like, I'm still having a good time.
Yeah.
And I'm not
upset that I read it.
And I was laughing a lot at Streaky, just kind of being like, oh, this stupid little ape. I don't like him. I guess I'll deal with these stupid kittens that are eating this pink stuff, and the kittens like mutate into like dinosaur kittens, and it's like, oh, we need to try and deal with these kittens, and like I definitely enjoyed the art more in this part of the issue as well, because it is worth mentioning there's 2 artists, and it does seem to be a split. Like the Crypto and Bunny stuff is one artist, and the Streaky and Tiny Tano is the other artist. I do think the art is better in the cat. And not just because I prefer cats, but it is better in the cat half.
it's much more my taste as well. The Crypto and Candy the Bunny stuff seemed more like cartoonish in the way like kind of like a young adult kind of book.
It's like a very flat for young kids type of look,
Yeah. Versus the stuff with Streaky and Tiny Tano was more what I would think traditional, superhero comic books, but Streaky being above everything, but still helping out. Again, such a cat attitude. And I think that Campbell nailed that.
Tiny
Tano is great.
Tiny Tano tried to use his eye beams on one of the kittens. And then Streaky being like, they're not Kryptonian cats, you idiot. And Streaky being bothered by Tiny Tano even being there. My favorite part, though, is like halfway through the chase, Streaky just says, time to lie down. And just starts licking his paws, like, we're done for now. And then gets back into things when Tiny Tano gets into trouble. So, and it's fun. Anyway, and the whole thing, that even the way Streaky solves the issue is to give them a bunch of cat food so that they'll eat too much too quick and then throw up. And as someone with cats, let me tell you that they can sometimes be guilty of eating too quick and then throwing it all up. I have witnessed this many a time in my days. This felt very true to life. Sophie Williams, or Campbell, not Williams, Sophie Campbell has a cat or has had a cat in the past. I am willing to bet you, based on this this plan that Streaky uses. I mean, I enjoyed that half of the bit more, mainly because of the art and because Streaky's attitude was quite funny. To be fair, though, I do think the bunny's attitude in the first half was the funnier part of their stuff as well. So, not
understanding that they're allies now, and still because Lesla had this whole big plan about Supergirl and Crypto and whatever. And Candy doesn't understand that's not where they're at anymore. I thought that was a fun little twist. But it was a fun read. Like, again, I wasn't upset that I would I'd read it, but this story I would more associate with stuff that's in like an anthology or a like an annual kind of instead of a regular issue of a book.
Yeah, it feels like a backup rather than the main story.
Yeah.
There's something, yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of to the tone that the Trinity backups used to have in Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah, like, a little bit.
A bit. So, but again, it's very well done. So, and I'm curious to see where this goes to Supergirl now, because Supergirl keeps not having a good time in Midvale. Man, it's almost like Midvale doesn't want her there.
Yeah, I just kind of wish there was a main story that I was a bit more hooked on. Like, I'm fine with it being more standalone stories. That's totally fine. I mean, hell, the new Batman book seems like it's going to be kind of like that based on that first issue, and I'm okay with that for sure. But yeah, it's meant to be a silly like bit of fun more than anything, and that's okay. I just wish it was maybe aiming for a little bit more than that. At this point, now that we're 5 in and I've got a good sample size, I'm kind of formulating my feelings a bit better. Anywho, what are you rating Supergirl issue 5?
I'm gonna give this a nice 7.5.
Yeah, I'll probably go with a flat 7. It's good. It's good for what it is. I wouldn't go above though. Green Lantern Corps, issue 8, legacy number 111. This is Morgan Hampton and Jeremy Adams writing with Fernando Pasarin on the art. So our lanterns come in blazing with their big their what do you call
entities?
Them? Entities, thank you. I was like, what's the word for them? But yeah, they come in to fight everyone in the Starbreaker Corps, back where the lantern is. And the wrap around for this though is that there's a Nathan, the character that was the Grey Lantern that Carol dumped at the altar. He basically starting to have second thoughts and says that this feeling nothing is actually like, it's kind of what he wanted, but it's actually really sad and like, you know, literally empty. There's nothing. And his story ultimately builds to him destroying the Grey Lantern and the power battery in this issue. By going in and seemingly dying with it. You know, he kind of sacrifices himself to fix what he's kind of helped do. I thought that side of stuff was quite good. I kind of liked those moody pages of him kind of contemplating what he's done. I was kind of into that. The Starbreaker characters kind of bickering about if the main Starbreaker dude is like an asshole or not. Like, should we be following him? Is he just ludding this over us? Of course, they get interrupted because he crash lands in with his brother and like, oh, the lanterns are coming, everyone. Hey, positions, they're coming. I guess the big thing here is, and I saw this sentiment online that some people felt like, oh, like the entity stuff's already done by the end of this issue after the big reveal last time. I don't know if I had much of a problem with that, but I can kind of see if you expected it to be a more of an ongoing thing as opposed to like just a quick thing for one big fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's been very clear from the beginning of this that the entities aren't this end-all be-all of Lantern power now, right? The Spectrum's still fractured, right? They still haven't fixed that issue, and that's the main crux of it, right? And maybe it's the use of these entities that will help stabilize everything, right? Because they're no longer in the source wall.
Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy the fight though. I really like the part where Jo gets knocked off the orange one, and like the power fades from her because she's disconnected from it. But when Guy grabs her onto the indigo one, she becomes an indigo lantern because she's on that one now with him. And I thought, oh, that's a fun little thing they could play with. If anything, I felt a little bit sad that Carol didn't do the same, because Carol ends up with Hal at one point. I'm like, why is she turning green? Jo already turned a different color. What are you doing?
Well, it's just maybe she's such a, this is me rationalizing it, right? She has such a tie to the love energy, to the violet, that she can, choose. She's choosing the love here, whereas Jo is still, she wasn't necessarily choosing the orange. The orange chose her, and then the purple, I don't know, or the indigo, not the purple, but
choosed.
Chosen.
Chose is the word you were looking for.
Chose.
No, just chose. No D at the end. Just chose.
D makes it past tense, Pete. I know English.
Okay. We'll move on. I think you're headcanon that a little bit there. I mean, I guess the argument is that she... Well, nah, because everyone lost their colours when the Grey Lantern turned... Never mind, it doesn't really matter. So, yeah, I mean, so the entities do seemingly all die. When the power battery explodes, the entities all kind of drop dead. Now, are they dead for good? Probably not. I'm sure when all the power batteries get turned on, they're all going to somehow be inside them or something. I don't know.
I mean, Parallax becomes a skeleton. So like,
true,
that's not a good look.
But like, I can see it being like, oh, he, like, I don't know, like, I don't think they're gone for good. Also, technically, technically that wasn't Parallax though.
No, but I don't know what else to call it because we haven't given a name. The yellow entity, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we don't have names for the other ones. Well, I mean, there probably is names, but like, we don't know them.
No, there definitely are. I can't remember them all, but I remember the Butcher's the red one, and Ophidian is the orange one, I believe. Anyways, I can never remember the Compassion one, but I know it's like a big cephalopod octopus squid thing. But yeah, they're representations of abstract things. So I mean, if anything, once, like you said, once the power batteries are restored, there's more control going over things. They can be reborn, fresh and not tied to anything. But having them be on the source wall and actually giving them this proper out in the universe, I feel is a much, not a fitting end to them, but it helps push the story a little bit more, I would say, than imprisoning them behind the source wall. So I give Adams and Hampton credit there by moving the entity story and getting through it and not being beholden to it as much.
Starbreaker is basically vowing at the end to chase the Lanterns back to Oa, because that's where they're obviously going to retreat to. And that's kind of where we leave off the main story of the issue. I mean, I enjoyed the fight. If anything, I wished they'd played more with the switching colors of the Lanterns as they were jumping from entity to entity. That may have been fun to play around with, but I really like the Grey Lantern side of it, like his sacrifice and realizing that he like wants to fix this. I thought, and that page where the Lantern battery explodes, I thought looked quite nice because of that burst of color of the entities around it. I thought looked really cool. The big thing at the end though is a little epilogue with Kelly where she wakes up and she's like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And Helly, is it Helly?
Ellie.
It's because of Kelly and Ellie. I was like doubting myself what name's which, right? So Ellie runs around, right? The construct of Ellie runs around and says, "Hey, I know what's behind that door in your mind. I know whose gauntlet that is." Because Kelly's like, "Where's my gauntlet?" Final page. Baz is holding the gauntlet, smelling like a madman possessed, because he is kind of possessed. Turns out Krona is the owner of this gauntlet. That's where this thing comes from.
Always comes back to Krona. The scientist from Oa, one of the what were they called? The Malthusians, right? He's the one whose hand, the mess with creation, and that's why we have the fractured entities as it is. Well,
to be precise, he's one of the, or to be precise of the like what that is. Yes. That's one of the Guardians race, like before they became Guardians.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will say I do love the art here of Simon. Looks like it's the homage to that cover of Hal wearing all the rings, right? From when he went nuts, turned Parallax the first time. I think that's a lot of fun. But yeah, being that that's Krona's glove or gauntlet, and I was like, back to Krona. But I'm gonna give these guys, their time. They've not let me down thus far. But yeah, seeing that old familiar name pop up again, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting direction to take it. It's been a little while since we heard from Krona. I remember the last time Krona's name popped up. Maybe during the Volthun stuff?
Maybe. That sounds about right.
It's been a while. So, I know, we'll see. I mean, it is interesting though. It's like, okay, well, but Kelly, that was like her only Green Lantern power. Is she going to get like an actual ring now, potentially?
Right.
I don't know, we'll see. But feels like they've got her around for a reason. So, or maybe they'll somehow like retro, like take this gauntlet back and like purge Krona from it, so it's just a gauntlet now, and she'll get it back. I don't know. But yeah, no, I mean, I think it's an enjoyable issue. I think it's another fun chapter in what they're doing with this crossover, without going like above and beyond into like, it's a solid big fight issue of a crossover, with some other things going on that feel like that impacted the story greatly. But it's not like, doing like amazingly wild things or anything like that. It's a pretty solid thing. I think so far I'm enjoying the Starbreaker crossover more than that final part of the first arc that Adams built up to. Where I really enjoyed all the build up, and then the final was fine, but it wasn't as good as the rest of it. I think the Starbreaker stuff is paying off just a little bit stronger for me so far, but we'll see where it goes in the next issue or two. Yeah. But
I really love seeing the Starbreakers talking trash about the main one. I thought that was really funny. So it shows that they're not all fully sold on this. They just essentially want to consume stars, right? Like, he freed them, and then they want to get back to being the star vampires they are. They don't have time for lantern shenanigans. So that was fun.
I wonder if that's seeding like an eventual like them abandoning him or something, or not, staying to fight when he expects them to, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But hey, what are you giving Green Lantern Corps issue 8?
I'm gonna go this straight 7.
Yeah, I mean, I think I might go a 7.5. I think I like what they did with the Green Lantern stuff, and I'm excited about the cliffhanger, so I'll say 7.5 for me. And the art is pretty solid. Pasarin, it's pretty house style, but it's very fun and colorful and all the rest of it, so cool. Birds of Prey, issue 25, Legacy number 223, Kelly Thompson writing with Cliff Richards and Sami Basri on the art. So, this got delayed a week physically, which is why we're doing it this week, because we could have done it last week technically, but because Matt wasn't here and David hadn't been reading it anyway, it just made sense to leave it till this week.
This is always the one book that I'm excited to talk about here, so I'm glad that it ended up like this.
Not all the other ones, just this one.
Well, no, this one in particular, this is one of my favorite books. This and Dark Patterns, so I'm glad that they lined up here. So, and this is very Barda heavy, so I'm glad I get to be here to talk about my girl Barda. Yeah,
so this is a longer issue, actually, because they did like a longer page count 25th. for issue 25. They didn't do that for Batman and Robin this week, but they did it for Birds of Prey. And there's no backups or anything, it's just a case of some more pages for the main story. Because it's part 1 of 4 of an arc, and I suspect that maybe if this hadn't been an oversized issue, it may have been part 1 of 5. It would be my guess. Mostly I had a great time with this. I had a lot of fun with the opening sequence, which is like set further down the timeline, and honestly I'm not really sure why they did this opening sequence like this, where like there's nothing about it that feels like it's teasing something for where the rest of the story's going. So we could talk about that. But I like the Uneasy Alliance with Ink. I like that stuff being built up. I do have one critique though, is that, and I thought I missed something. I went back and reread like 3 pages, try to like find the thing I missed. Is that I don't think they make it clear what they're actually doing at the end of the issue, because I was so confused.
Yep.
So it feels like something that's so like specific enough that you can't just not tell the audience. Like, see if you're doing like a heist, right? And like characters are like getting into place, but you don't know the plan yet. That's okay, because you're like, okay, they're going to reveal the plan as it happens, but we still have a general idea of what the ultimate goal is. And okay, we have the ultimate goal here, that they're eventually want to take down this team of villains, right? That's obviously what their end game is. But like this thing at the end where I think they're getting into a virtual reality, I'm not entirely sure what they're going to accomplish in said virtual reality.
So I believe that's where all of the stuff with the Damon Prime is happening, right? Because that's what Ink comes in and sets up and tells them. So they have to go get the devices that's going to allow them to get to the virtual type thing. That's how I read it. Why we chose to go this way, I don't know.
Well, no, I get that part. That's not the problem. Yeah. I don't know in the last few pages if we're already in a virtual reality, because Babs and that is still there, but at the same time they're also affected by I don't know, it was all kind of weird, because they do a whole bit, like there's a whole page where they're like, hey, we can pick our outfits, right? We can pick like our video game style outfits when we're inside this reality, and it changes like in front of them, like, like Black Canary's in like an Archer outfit, and like, Babs makes a little dig and it's funny, and she's like, oh, I miss him, okay, and she's like, this like Blue Arrow or whatever she is, and it's like, okay, this is a fun little bit, right? And they're making some jokes about each other's costume choices and whatnot, but like the characters are still there, and I was like, okay, so this is like tech that's like the suits turning into like these other like suits or whatever, but they're talking about getting into virtual reality, and then it's like, oh, we also have to dose you all with this drug to send you into this thing. But I was unclear why they were seeing each other's suits in the real world if it's about getting into, like, virtual reality. I didn't really understand what was happening in those last few pages.
Yeah, the one that got me was the drug dosage thing, where they have to, so they can interact with whatever. It's all a hat on a hat, right? Yeah, it is very confusing.
I mean, I don't even think it should be this confusing. I don't think there's anything wrong conceptually with what's happening. I think there's just like something needs to be explained that's not explained, and I don't know what it is because I don't understand it yet. But there's something missing in the chain of explanations that is making these last few pages more confusing. So I do have to dock some points here, because Kelly Thompson's obviously a very good writer. I think the characters throughout this entire issue are delightful. You know, this opening where Bard is like smashing like a quarry with her fists, and the workers are just kind of cheering her on, and one of them says, oh, she'd be better in a bikini, and I'm like, she's basically wearing a bikini already. Like, how is this not close to a bikini? And then Cass is like sitting there, and they say, hey, Batgirl, aren't you going to help her? And like Batgirl, Cass just sort of throws a batarang to the side, like really nonchalant, like she doesn't care. So I got a good chuckle out of that. So I mean, yeah, I don't know, like, you know, because we go to the end of the scene is them going through a boom tube, right? And they're going back to the sewer base or whatever it is, and they're talking about getting their new base up and running. And then we go to the next page, and it says somewhere in Gotham 6 weeks ago, and it goes back to that scene that we ended on last issue, which is they're in the diner or the restaurant, and Ink's there, and Bard is pissed. She doesn't want to work with her. Let me throw her to the moon. And Dinah goes out and talks to her, calms her down, says, hey, if this is a double cross, and there's a good chance it is, I will vote to let you put her on the moon, right? I will be on your side. So Barda reluctantly agrees. And I was enjoying all this character stuff, but already I was starting to think, like, why did we get this weird tease of Barda and Cass at the court? Because I assumed we were going to be cutting back to the present throughout to like develop whatever the present part of the story was, but we never do, I don't think. We get like Gotham years from now when Ink's telling her story about how she ended up in the past, how she stole Maps technology and ended up here, and now she's stuck, and that's fine. But but anyway, she's like, oh, I know what the team's planning next. I don't want to be a part of it. It's actually pretty evil. I want to help you, like, take them down, kind of thing. And, you know, it sets up like what we're doing. So, but when it does finally come back to now, right, and the headquarters, it's Barda and Cass arriving, and the rest are waiting, and they're like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We all have to go steal some stuff to make this work, some technology. And it's just, I don't really understand why that Barda and Cass scene had to be at the start, and then, like, you know, like, why not just put it here before this scene and tell the story in order? I'm not sure what that opening scene teased that meant it had to be, like, told out of order. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Outside of them leaving the boom tube and then cutting to another time, right? The flashback, and then cutting back in, you know, that's all I can think of, right? It was just narratively, that's what Kelly Thompson wanted to do to get in and out of that scene, and it wasn't necessary.
Because I think I assumed when we skipped backwards in time after the first scene, I thought, oh, we're going to keep going backwards and forwards. Like, we're going to build stories in both, and then they're going to somehow, like, connect, or we'll understand why we're doing that later. But when it gets to this part of the issue and it comes back to, like, now, and it's just them arriving in the base, like, everything from that point on just goes forward. Now it's just told in a straightforward linear fashion. And I don't really understand that choice. I thought it was a bit weird, but
I wonder if there's going to be more payoff, that we're going to see the plan come together in those 6 weeks, because 6 weeks is an oddly specific amount of time.
That's true.
Set in between the stories.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's the point, is we're establishing there's going to be a 6 week period, but I don't know what else would be in that 6 week period. I mean, maybe we'll find out next issue, because, you know, when the story starts going forward again, it's like, okay, we have to go steal this stuff. So Cass goes to this warehouse and takes on the snake looking one, I don't remember the names.
Yeah, Copperhead.
Is that just Copperhead?
Who gets yoked on? It's just Copperhead. Who gets yoked on Venom?
I was doubting myself because multiple villains on this team look like characters that are other characters, and they're not. So that's why I was doubting if that's Copperhead, because some of the other ones I was like, oh, that must be that so and so, and then it's like, no, they're not. They're actually this other like E-lister that you'd never heard of. But you know, Cass, you know, does her thing, steals the stuff. Black Canary and Sin go after some stuff as well in Chinatown. Golden.
Well, and here's the thing though. Every time each of these, so they split up and they're hoping that each of the places they're going, it isn't the person that they're going up against, right? So they put these teams together with a point to get in and get out fast, but each of the times they show up, it's like the worst case scenario, right? So for Copperhead and Cass, or for Cass, it's Copperhead, and now he's amped up by Venom. And for Sin and Canary, it's Golden Lion and Velvet Tiger, and he has that stick, Golden Lion does, that can mess with Megara. And then for Barda and Ink, I mean, they seem to have the mission that goes the right way, right? So again, there's a lot of oddities that are popping up that I feel like are mistakes, but I trust Kelly Thompson enough that things will be resolved in the upcoming issues. But there's a lot of weird stuff here.
Yeah, I mean, they all steal something, though. They all succeed. Like, Cass leaves her location with a box of something, so does Canary and Sin. And then they're back at the headquarters, and this is where they're putting all these suits on that they've stolen. And we start doing the whole, I'll get the program started, and, like, they start, like, they sort of switch to, like, being all in, like, sort of, like, matching white kind of underwear. And then they're like, okay, we get to pick our outfits. And I'm like, is this them in VR now? Because Barbara and Ink are still standing there. So is it more of an augmented reality thing? And if that's the case, then I just don't understand what they're doing at the end. This is really all I get to.
Yeah, so it's there's a good line from Barbara. I'm going to go back and read it because I read this last week, right? And I didn't revisit it. I didn't have time. But Barda's like, one size fits all with the suits that they stole that gets them to this augmented reality. And Barda contains multitudes, but can spandex contain Barda? A question for the ages, right? And that's real funny. But then when you're trying to when you're reading Babs try to go through this, I get more confused the more I read it, and that shouldn't be happening. She's running a decryption program. Yeah, so because the thing
is the character writing, every like fun interaction between the characters is as good as it always is, right? It's still really fun to read, and that's why I didn't even realize I was getting confused when I was first reading it, because I read, like, we go back to the headquarters, and Babs is like, is there a chance? Is there any chance what they blew up was the whole supply of either the drugs or the tech? Blah blah blah. Okay, then we really got to hustle. You guys get suited up. We don't have much time. I'll start the decryption program. And then they start talking about the suits a little bit. And they're like, are you guys ready for me to activate it? Dinah's the only one that's seen this stuff up close. But according to her, it's what. So the implication to me is that this is still in the real world. And this suit is just like making them appear to be like in generic white underwear because it's like, because Canary fought that character where they had this fancy suit on, and it was like they look like someone else, right? So it's like, okay, right, so far makes some sense, and then we get all the jokes about the different outfit choices, and Sin being a vampire and whatnot, Black Canary having the archer outfit, and all that,
and then Barda showing up as herself, which was also a good laugh for me.
Yeah.
Right.
And all that's perfectly fine, right? And they're having fun. And then they say, oh no, you have to be something else. You've got some choices. And then Barda turns into like a blue winged demon looking character. So, and then they all kind of joke about how, we should have all picked something like that. So anyway, so Babs says, all right, focus up everyone. Batman and I have run every test we've got on this drug, and it appears both temporary and technically harmless, but as discussed, a lot can go wrong in the field, and we have to assume that you may be exposed to the drug despite our best efforts to prevent that. okay, I feel like you dosed them in a minute, but all right. You need to know what you'll be dealing with, both in yourselves and what you see in others. Yeah, so they go into a room, and then they start pumping the room full of something, which I assume was the drug, but given what Babs just said, I guess maybe it isn't. And then the end of the issue, the cliffhanger, is that they all look a little bit like, I don't know, like they're all smiling and having wide eyes. Yeah, they're all like looking a bit like unhinged because of this drug. So I have to admit, the last like 4 or 5 pages, or the last entire scene, honestly, was kind of confusing. And I got to like, maybe not the last page, but I got to like a couple of pages before, and I was like, wait, what are they actually doing? What are they suiting up for? I realized that I didn't know. What are they suiting up for? And I went back to try and read from the start of the scene, and I'm like, did I miss something? Like, what's going on exactly? And I'm glad you were confused too, because I still don't really know exactly.
Yeah, no, and again, and going over it more makes me more confused, because you think going over it multiple times will give you more clarity, and it just doesn't.
Yeah, I wonder, like, maybe this will just be completely obvious next issue, and it'll be like, okay, this is what it meant, and maybe there's just a bit of a flub here. I don't know. Is it possible the reason why this was delayed a week physically is because there was a page missing, and we've read a version with the page missing?
Maybe. That would be a lot of stuff in one page, though, right?
I don't know. There could just be one vital piece of information, one thing that makes it all click.
That said, I do want to go over like the ink in Barda stuff. I really enjoyed, the stuff at the restaurant with Barda being upset, and just the fact that ink comes from that future and mess with the Meridian tech to get there. Because ink is a fan favorite of mine from Batman Beyond. So to see her interacting with these characters in this universe and stuff is real nice. So I definitely feel there's some timey-wimey stuff that will become more obvious as we go. But again, that's me giving Thompson the benefit of the doubt, just because so far I haven't had any reason to doubt.
Like
it is all very confusing.
Every single bit of character writing in this issue is really entertaining and really solid, and it's fun to see these characters interact. But I legitimately was confused by what was happening in the plot at the end of the issue. And it feels like something's got mixed up somewhere, and I don't know what. But I looked over those pages multiple times looking for the explanation. Maybe if I went back and reread all the other scenes, maybe something would click. But I there was definitely something that wasn't computing in my brain, where I'm like, I don't entirely know what they're doing here at the end with these like augmented reality outfits. Are they getting into a virtual reality? I'm not sure. The fact that they're getting drugged to do whatever they're doing makes me think they're not getting into virtual reality, and it is just an augmented thing. But it's like, okay, so what? I don't know. I'm confused by the story at the end, and I probably have to be kind of a little harsher on the score because of that. Because it's possible I'm just being stupid, but the fact that you're confused as well makes me think that it's not just me being stupid.
Yeah, I would love to be able to explain it to you. I love explaining things, but I can't. So, but yeah, Barda contains multitudes. That's all I know.
Yeah, so, no, I mean, the thing is it was still a very easy read for the most part. It wasn't until a couple of pages from the end where I went, wait, what's happening? Why is this happening? Did I miss something? And then got very confused. So anyone who's read this, by all means in the comments, please do try and enlighten. And if it feels like there is something that we maybe didn't see, maybe there's an error in the book or something, then let us know. But yeah, so... yeah, there you go. What are you rating Birds of Prey, Matt?
I'm gonna give this, and it's for the art and the characterization, and not so much the story. I'm gonna give it a straight 7. But yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking around that as well. But part of me's thinking 7 is good, though. Can I outright say it's good when I think the story confused me at the end and not in a good way, where I actively was struggling to understand what was happening? Part of me thinks that I should probably go even lower than a 7 for that, even though I did like the art, even though I did like all the characterization and was enjoying all the interactions. So I am going to go 6.5 for that reason. But here's hoping the next issue will quickly clear it up, and we'll understand what's going on. But like, I legitimately was like going back pages and being like, wait, did I miss did I not read a page or something? Like, what's going on? So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll move on to Batman and Robin, issue 25, legacy number 91, Philip Kennedy Johnson writing with Fico Ossio on the art. So this is the start of a new arc, which they say proudly on the front cover. They love to advertise a new arc so people might jump in if they weren't buying it already.
Yep.
And we've got a seemingly new character. Maybe they'll reveal something later, but we have the Quiet Man here.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with the video game character, the Quiet Man. Because he's not very good, that character.
Was it? Oh, that was the Thin Man. I was like, wasn't there old movies that were about detectives? I think that was the Thin Man. I think they were Nick and Nora. I can't remember. I had to watch them in film school back in the day. I think it was the Thin Man, not the Quiet Man. But yeah, no. Instantly, the mood in this, and just that first page with him getting released out of the penitentiary, I was just like, oh man, this is almost like the end of Shawshank, right? Like, what's this man up to? And I was like, all right, Johnson, you've hooked me already.
I'm not going to take apart that it's like the end of Shawshank, because other than the fact that he's in a prison, I don't see there's anything like Shawshank. But
well, that's what I mean. Wait, so the end of Shawshank, right, is him escaping, right, not being released. And then we have to, with the way that ends, what was Andy's future after that, right? Here, I'm getting the vibe that here he's released, but he's got more to do. So that's what I was getting more or less of that.
Someone gets out of prison. That's the only connection you're making.
Yeah.
No, so this guy gets out of prison and he seems quite friendly with the guards. They're saying goodbye and best of luck. There's no one to pick him up. When he does go to like this church when he gets out, he goes to a gravestone and he kind of touches it, and there's an implication of at least a son that he's maybe lost along the way. But he's got a box that's buried with like a newspaper article in there that says feared mob boss dies in captivity. And there's maybe a couple other doodads in there, like a chain and some money or whatever. And that's our introduction. That's our introduction to this character. It's very moody. The art's very good. I think Ossio here, like, we've definitely seen stuff by Ossio before, but this I don't remember like having like a memorable positive opinion. Not that I remember it being bad either, but I think this is particularly good.
Ossio's typically a fill-in guy that comes in for an issue and does stuff, and I feel like tends to almost adopt that style that was ongoing. You usually see him filling in for like Gia Domenico or whatever because it's very similar. Here, I feel like for the first time I'm seeing Ossio's art for what it should be, and I like these really quiet moments in these first two pages. Yeah, because I think it works really well.
Because he goes to this church in the cemetery, and like there's just like there's light coming through the trees. There's all these kind of like just branches in the background. There's a lot of detail. Yeah. It has a mood. It has like a mood right away. And then we cut to the action where Tiger Shark is laying a helicopter assault on one of Penguin's warehouses or whatever it is. And Batman comes in the Batplane and they're like, shit, Batman's here, and we get a big action set piece. And notably, Batman is wearing his new Batman issue 1 outfit, so they've done some synergy here, which makes me wonder if in Detective he's going to be switching to the blue cape as well. But yeah, so there's a whole like running thing here where like, Robin clearly over the comms keeps saying now, and Batman's like, not now. And he was grappling onto the helicopter that the bad guys are in. He's like kicking people through, and then eventually he's like, yeah, Robin now. And Robin comes out in kind of a new outfit as well, actually. And he's on a motorbike, and he runs up onto the roof as Batman's fighting the dudes, and drives the motorbike through the helicopter, like the opening of the helicopter, and knocks out one of the guys, and grabs Tiger Shark. So the helicopter crash lands, and like Batman's like dragging the unconscious bodies of the various henchmen, and it's like it's basically just a successful night out for Batman and Robin. They have taken out these guys. They've stopped this war from happening, And it all leads to like a quiet scene where Batman and Robin are on a rooftop, and Batman's saying, look, that was a good job tonight. I don't tell you how often enough how proud I am. And, you said you wanted to be like a Wayne as well as a part of the Bat family, and I'm going to make sure you have both. It's a nice scene. He smiles a bit, like it's a very happy thing. And the art's really nice here because they bring up this whole thing with the, when it's about to rain some mornings, if you look over this side of the city, you can see like blue lights coming up from this power plant, and you can see red lights coming up from this other place, like from the bridge or whatever.
From the bridge.
And it makes this sort of blue and red kind of glow that you can see over the course of the city. So there's a nice mood again in the atmosphere. The art is really doing a lot of the work here as well, admittedly, but obviously Johnson's writing here is pretty good. And
the way the cityscape looks with the blue and the red coming through there, and the way that Batman's standing there with the cape in the wind, right? It all sets up, like you said, a very fun mood, and it's similar to that quiet moment at the beginning with the guy walking through the cemetery and the small church. So I like the similar tones that are going on.
And if I am right in thinking that he lost a son, then that might thematically tie into Batman and Robin and potential risks of losing Robin and all that. I will say, like one of the critiques we maybe had when Johnson's run started is that Damian felt like he'd regressed a little bit. And then obviously we went through the arc of Memento, and we got to this point where Batman and Robin are kind of in a better place. It's kind of this thing where they feel happier here than they did in general before, but obviously they regressed for the purpose of the arc so that it felt like a bigger change. So it's kind of this weird thing where, in the context of just this book, this feels like a nice natural like ongoing like thing from where we were, but like technically they were in a kind of an okay place before that arc. It's just that Johnson wrote them to be in a pretty pissy mood with each other. He
regressed them so he could progress them, and the progression isn't to where we were before he regressed them, right?
No, I would argue it's a bit further. No, do you not think? This feels a lot more like loving fatherly than I feel like Batman usually is with Damian.
Maybe, but I still think before that I felt like we were getting. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it is a little bit further, but I still feel like we're still a little bit behind. I don't know. The whole part with him talking to the chessboard about Roz, he's like, I'm winning our game. I thought that was a little bit, I thought Batman was a little bit past that at this point,
It was a quick callback. It felt like that's all it was. I think for me, it felt like it took Damian a step back at the start of the first arc, but now then he went 2 steps forward through the arc, so now we're a little bit forward again here, especially in the side of like, I want to like embrace my Wayne side. Like that's definitely kind of a new thing that we're really dealing with here.
I like that.
And Bruce is like, hey, let's go see a movie tonight. We've earned a break. We stopped the war, and like things will probably be quiet. Penguin's probably celebrating, which he is. We'll get to that in a second. So he's like, yeah, let's go to a movie. And Damian says, like, are we going to go to that theater? And he's like, I don't know, we'll see what's playing. But yeah, they end up going to the theater that Bruce went to as a kid, where the Wayne's murder happened. So an interesting choice. It's a big city. I'm sure there's other movie theaters you could be going to, but you're going to that
Gotham's
one.
Gotham's huge. I used to have 4. So in my small suburban part of Las Vegas, at one point I had 4 theaters within 3 miles. You're telling me Gotham doesn't have a similar scatter?
He's all about
it's like, come on, man.
Facing his fear. He's all about facing his trauma,
Well, also, this does not look like Crime Alley anymore, right? Like, this has spotlights on the theater when they get there, it all looks real nice.
Oh, sure. There is that one moment, though, where Damian looks down the alley and sees the street light shining down. It's just like, there's nothing there, but it's just like, what was there once upon a time?
This is where it happened.
So Penguin's celebrating with all of his cronies, like, thanks to the Batman. Like, we no competition.
I really like this because he's going on, he's like, to Tiger Shark, who should have known better, right? And to Polly, who's our new underboss and made this successful, and to Batman, who's the unsung hero of the crew. I like that because it plays in with the Tom King Penguin, right? Where the Batman and Penguin have this relationship.
Sure, yeah.
Where they both kind of use each other. So I like that we're going back to that here.
Also, can we talk about how this is clearly based on Danny DeVito, this Penguin art?
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. Like, he's really going for that version of Penguin.
This is the sick little nasty freak version that bites people in the nose and eats raw fish.
He's got he's got the pointy nose. He's got the shape.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about him is very much.
His hands are in the flippers, right? Look how he's holding the wine glass or the champagne flute, rather.
Yep.
Yeah, nasty little freak version of Penguin.
Yep. So yeah, but the big thing though is that this the quiet man comes to the Iceberg Lounge and says that he's there to see Penguin, but the bouncer out front's like, "Oh, piss off, buddy." But when he doesn't go, he's like, "Hey, you're going to regret not going when I told you." But this guy fights him, and he kills him as well. He shoots him in the head. So we get a full red panel when the gun fires, and obviously the people inside hear it. And what we effectively get is this quiet man is John Wick levels of skill, where he comes into the room and starts just shooting Penguin's henchmen left and right. Ends up as the fire starts. He throws a dagger, and I love there's a panel in the middle of one of the pages of Batman and Robin at the movies, just watching like whatever they're watching, in the middle of all the chaos. In fact, both the last couple of pages have that. So you know, fun. But yeah, the cliffhanger is, you know, this guy's coming for Penguin. There's fire everywhere. Yeah. He starts quoting. He says, "Bless mine eyes with silver, that I might watch for the Saviour's coming. If I die today, let it be in penance for my sins, redeemed by the guns of holy men." So clearly he's got an old vendetta that he is coming to settle.
Well, if his son was the mob boss that died because in prison, right? That was in that box, that newspaper clipping, because of something that the Penguin did, he's coming for him, right? And
I don't know if I made the assumption that his son was the mob boss. I guess I was thinking the mob boss was something related to his past, and then the son was maybe younger. But I mean, you may be right. Maybe he is.
Maybe. He's going full bore revenge, right? This is like Liam Neeson taken, like you said, John Wick. And he's, you know, the last thing we see is the Iceberg Lounge half on fire, or half of the Iceberg Lounge on fire. And
then
which is also a stark image.
The warm tones of the fire really contrast with the cold blue of the rest of the Iceberg Lounge as well, which is really nice on that last page.
And all the while, Bruce and Damian are watching a movie. I hope it was a good movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's... I honestly, I'm quite impressed with Ossio's art here, because, like, again, it's not a name that I ever got excited about or assumed, oh, this is going to be a great issue for art. But I feel like the overall vibe of this is like very consistent throughout. It's very scratchy and moody. You know, like it's got like warm glows where it needs to, but like even when the warm glows like are adding kind of a moody atmosphere to it. Like whether it's the quiet man in the cemetery early on, or even when the Wayne Manor, or probably the Pennyworth Manor, actually, to be honest. I was talking last week about how Batman issue 1 reminded us that that's where they were staying, because it hadn't really been mentioned in over a year. But like, you know, there's like sunlight coming in from the window behind them as they're getting ready to go to bed, and it's just, you know, there's just this moodiness to it because everything's so dark, but with this warm glow of light coming through. There's a vibe that I really appreciate that feels like it's got a lot going on. And then you add in like the more monstrous looking Penguin face and like other stuff. The action flows well. Really can't complain about that either. I'm intrigued by this like Hitman style vengeance character. Yeah. So
and just the quiet moments offset by like the action with Tiger Shark and the entire, like, it's a helicopter thing, right? Like Batman shows up and disables a helicopter, and there's this like zany action in these parts that are otherwise quiet. And then we meet Penguin, and there's this raucous kind of celebratory party going on there too. So the quiet moments really get offset by those action, and it's balanced really well.
Yeah. Also, I feel like this is something that should happen a bit more often in comics, is that the first issue of an arc, like the hero shouldn't even be aware of what the main villain of the arc is doing yet. Like, we see Batman and Robin take care of this, like, side thing that, I mean, it's slightly related to what Penguin's celebrating about later, but it's mostly just a little thing on its own to say, hey, they're doing their jobs well, they're having a successful night, and this thing's brewing. And the Batman and Robin stuff's mostly about their relationship. It's mostly about the father-son dynamic and all that. And then the Quiet Man stuff's bubbling up throughout the issue. And obviously the aftermath of this, like, Batman and Robin are going to obviously hear about it because, like, oh, the Iceberg Lounge is on fire and, like, there's, like, dozens and dozens of men dead because of this Quiet Man's rampage. Like, and then that'll draw him into the story next issue. Because part of the excitement almost is he's sitting there watching the movie. He's like, oh shit, what's he going to think when he finds out? Like oh, we were taking the night off and this happened. Not that he'd have been there. It's not like they knew this was going to happen at the Iceberg Lounge, but
no.
So,
but it might almost reinforce to Damian, like, you can't take breaks, right? And it's something that Bruce has to learn or had to learn. So because we'll see. Because it's Bruce that wants to go to the movie, not Damian. So, I wonder if that's going to play into it as well.
Yeah, I might. What are you giving Batman and Robin 25?
I'm going to give this a straight 8. I thought it was really strong.
I'm going to go 8.5. I think I quite like this. I like the new character, the tease of him, and like his, ironically very quiet kind of introduction where he's just a man of action as opposed to like over explaining what's going on. And then all the Batman and Robin stuff I thought was good. The art's great. Yeah, good stuff. So Batman Dark Patterns issue 10, Dan Waters writing with Hayden, Sherman on the art. So this is the start of the final arc of Dark Patterns, and it kind of tries to tie in the previous arcs a little together here. Partly because we see like these obviously like mannequins of Scarface, the Wound Man, and the Red Hood gang dude.
Yeah, they're all effigies.
Yep.
Right, they're personifications of people.
And the villain here sets them all on fire. Entire building goes ablaze, and we actually like cut outside to like a couple who look like they're out of a different decade. I mean, I guess this book technically is not set present day continuity because Alfred's around, so it could be whenever they would want it to be set.
But also, he pulls out a phone, right? So he's wearing the jacket and the fedora. She's also wearing like what looks like a Jackie O kind of dress, complete with the hat.
Yep.
And then I'm like, okay, maybe I don't know. There's some weird stuff. There's a bat signal going on, but it's not that old. And then he pulls out his cell phone because he's calling 911. And I was like, oh, okay, they just dress differently in Gotham.
Also, the important thing here is that they mention that Batman's missing. Like, they mention that he's not been around. They're kind of vague about it, but they see a figure walking through the fire, and it's the villain. And we get a look at the villain, and they've got like a big baby mask, and like to the point where it feels like they're like 7 foot tall, and you've got this big baby mask with a hood kind of thing, like stapled to it. And then it basically crashes through the window and grabs these two people and pulls them inside to the fire, presumably killing them. So it's pretty wild and dark.
Big time. And instantly that hulking figure makes it way more scarier than it needs to be, right?
It feels like an over the top slasher movie villain and design.
And not just the babyface thing, right? I mean, the way that Jason and Michael Myers are presented are these big hulking masses. And it even looks like when you see them do fire stunts, that's what that suit looks like, right? So it makes him even bigger because it's all padding. Which
to be fair, I think that's intentional. And
for sure.
They're saying this character is wearing a fire protective suit. Yeah.
Right, of course. And so, but yeah, it just adds to all that. And so I was getting slasher vibes too. With that, just because of that hulking presence here. But yeah, and then just the way against Sherman, which I won't go on like I always do, because I always do it. It's route at this point, but just the way that the panels are on that page when he reaches out for the woman, just the way that the glass is angled and shattered in the hands, and yeah, it's wonderful stuff.
And the panels have like jagged edges as well to sort of feel like they're part of the glass breaking, which is really nice. And then Gordon goes to Arkham to speak to Firefly because, hey, there's a burning villain happening out there. And they find out that Firefly was in correspondence with a detective that's been fired. and he talks about how, oh, those fires out there, is that his handiwork? And he's like, oh, this whoever this new flame related villain is that was obsessed with fire. But he's speaking to Garfield Lens, and doesn't really get anywhere with it, right? He just sort of talks about how, oh, the first great fire in Gotham was in the 18th century, and then the second great fire, which the modern Gotham was built on, was in the 19th century, and the third great fire is just beginning. Like the embers are starting. So Batman remembers that he was told about the Mortician character, right? That he had this past where he was doing these experiments, where he got hooked on drugs, he was addicted to whatever, and this makes him want to go talk to Gordon about it. And meanwhile, Gordon is at the morgue looking for the Mortician and finds a Batman effigy, right, complete with cape and cowl, burning in the morgue. So Gordon runs in, grabs a fire extinguisher to deal with it, but the killer, the villain behind him, blocks or puts a bar on the handles of the door so that Gordon can't get back out. And I love the page, actually, the layout where Gordon's trying to use the fire extinguisher and it's not working, presumably because the killer is already... I keep saying killer rather than villain because he feels like a serial killer. But he tries to use the fire extinguisher, it's not working, probably intentionally so. He tries to put the fire out with his coat, but as this is happening, the panels are getting narrower and narrower. It's like a sort of sliding thing. So at the bottom, when he just says, I can't do anything now, this is a failed attempt, I'm running for the door. And then you get the big panel on the right-hand side, which is the sort of the reverse shape of him trying to get out, and he can't. It feels like the panels on the other side were counting down. It was counting down till him realizing he was trapped in the room with the fire. Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's ramping up the tension, right? Yeah. And it's closing in around him. Yeah. So, and then the big creepy baby killer is standing at the window, doing a little wave at Gordon, bye-bye, you're dead now. I want to see this in live action so much. I love slasher movies. This guy is so creepy. He looks like a wrapped up baby, in a baby bunting, but he's seems like he's 8 feet tall and 400 pounds. It's like Andre the Giant, with a baby face thing. And it's so creepy and it's so well done. And goddamn Dan Waters. Yep. And then, baby turns around, walks away, and Gordon falls to the floor on his knees, struggling to breathe. But then, of course, Batman comes smashing through the windows, grabs him, grapples out. And he's like, how did you know? He's like, I didn't. I just came to find out about this Mortician. You didn't vet him properly. There's something going on here. And he's like, he's missing, of course. Where is he? Turns out the killer's got him. The killer's got him held captive, as we find out in the last couple of pages. And the issue ends with the big reveal of who this baby fire killer is. And it's not the Mortician, which it feels like the book was kind of setting you up to think it might be him. It's actually the reporter who told Batman about this Mortician, and seems to have told him a lot of things throughout the course of this run. So this is kind of putting the all the arcs together a little bit. It's giving you this final kind of creepy villain to deal with, which is kind of cool. I will say the reveal of who the killer is, I don't really think he's that exciting on his own as a reveal. I do like that he was a guy that we've already seen. We've already met him in previous arcs. So I do like that, and he's a historian of Gotham. That's why Batman originally went to him. That's right? Yeah. So it ended up being him. I like it. We'll see if it ends up being satisfying. But this initial reveal, because we get the fact that when Bruce comes over, when Batman comes in to save Gordon, he talks about, the journalist Nikki Harris told me that Serenica had fled the body farm, right? Well, they had to remind us of that name, because if they hadn't, and we got to this final page, and he said, my name is Nikki Harris, I'd have been like, who the hell is Nikki Harris? So if there was more of a thing, but I do appreciate the thing where they were going out of their way to remind us of this, and then just the entire reason that Serenica left there was because of the formaldehyde that he's been huffing. He's been having hallucinations, and he had a hallucination at the body farm, and one of the bodies had talked to him, and we get this all playing out
and these great Hayden Sherman panels that take the form of these bodies laying in the field. But yeah, it told him it could feel everything that had been done, and it begged him for help. And Serenaka obliged. Which, what does that mean? Right? Like, what did he do that led him to flee this body farm? You know? So it adds even more there to almost make you question if he really is this fire guy, but that didn't go in with that didn't fit the vibe of what we were being told. Yeah,
it was also too obvious. He's had this off vibe the entire time, so it felt like he was the obvious red herring for who the killer was going to be. I guess it's just the person himself's a little underwhelming, and I would say that maybe they revealed it a little too early. I kind of liked the creepy baby mask and not knowing who it was. I'm sure he'll put it back on for more stuff, but I kind of liked it just being that visual for a while. So I almost wish they'd sort of held off till maybe the end of next issue before they revealed this. But having said that, though, all of the sequences before this, like the start with the pulling the couple into the fire, Gordon being trapped in the morgue, it's on fire, is probably my favorite scene of the issue. Just lots of great stuff, sprinkled throughout. Probably isn't my favorite first issue of the arcs out of the four we've had in this book. I think the first issue of both the Windman and the Scarface Tower were probably both stronger to begin with. But yeah, this creepy mask and the setting to fire to stuff is really cool. Waters has not let us down yet as far as just making an interesting story. But if anything, this one even though it's a unique new villain, and so was the Windman, to be fair, but yeah, it feels like maybe the least interesting from a story perspective, because it's just this guy that's been in the background the whole run is now doing the finale stuff. It almost feels like the most normal of these stories, despite the crazy stuff we see in it. It's the most normal from a writing perspective.
I think that the next issue is going to do a lot of that heavy lifting. At least I hope it does, because I want to know his motivations as this journalist and historian, and essentially wanting to cause the next fire to build the new Gotham, right? And how that's going to work in with Batman. I think it's going to make or break this. But I really enjoyed this issue, even if the reveal wasn't as, even if it was a bit underwhelming.
Just to be fair, I don't think make or break is the right phrase, because it's not the book's still very good regardless.
Yeah. When I say make or break, I mean at the level of where we were, right? Because it's all been consistent across the first 9, right? Yeah. So, but we'll see if it isn't. When we opened and it had the 3 representations of the first 3 arcs, I went, oh, okay. This is going to be something. So, but yeah, as I said, the reveal notwithstanding, I thought this was really solid. I liked it a whole lot. I feel like the detective aspect of it's going to come into play as well. So, yeah, man, it makes me sad that we're rounding towards the end of Dark Patterns. But man, what a ride has it been? Yeah,
I just hope Waters gets another project at DC after this. Obviously Nightwing's still going, but I want him to get another book here, and giving him creepy stuff that he can do creepy stuff in is ideal. So whether he gets, I mean, maybe this is a test run. Maybe he'll end up taking over one of the main Bat books at some point. It wouldn't surprise me if that's where we're heading with this.
Do you think he's the man that could fix Hattush?
Well, Fraction just started on Batman. I feel like I mean, who? I feel like both Taylor and Johnson are still relatively early in their respective runs, so I don't see them go.
I mean, no, just he knocks the Loeb out and takes over the typewriter, and he just finishes the story.
Well, I was never suggesting that he actually try and finish someone else's story, so no, I wasn't. No one can fix Hattush.
Okay. Not even Dan Waters.
Not even Dan Waters, no.
But yeah, whatever he's gonna do, I would like, he does that dark creepy so well, and we've seen part of it in Nightwing. I know it's probably hackneyed to say, but him on something like Swamp Thing, I wonder how much different it would be from the Ram V version.
Swamp Thing's an obvious. I mean, if he was going to stay in Gotham, if they're not going to give him an ongoing Batman book, which is kind of what we thought this might be, when we didn't know it was a limited series, is, I don't know, maybe something else set in Gotham with other characters, pick some of the, I don't know who you'd pick. but just, if you're not going to give him Batman specifically, then give him someone else in Gotham. Let him do. Like, remember in the late New 52, there was that book Gotham by Midnight, which was like investigating supernatural stuff in Gotham. Let him do something like that. That feels like perfect for Dan Waters.
I would love that. That'd be great.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't know. Maybe they've got something lined up for him after Dark Patterns is done. I mean, Dark Patterns' final issue just got solicited in last month. I'm not saying that I expect a new Dan Waters book in the next solicits next week, because it doesn't work that way. It's not like as soon as one's done, like you immediately announce the next one. But I would say that there's room in the table for another Dan Waters project, and hopefully we get one. But and the art was great throughout. Obviously, we kind of
it's Hayden Sherman, man. I love all the what he does with the panels and the line work, and just there's that page early on that takes the shape of the flame in the lighter before he burns that room full of the effigies.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And then it jumps over to Bruce in the bed, laid up with his fever with Alfred, and it's all rounded edges, right? To take you away from the sharp, jagged edges of the broken glass when the big old baby face comes at the couple. So I want to so good.
Mention as well, like any critiques I was giving of the reveal, like I'm critiquing it in the context of holding this book to a very high standard because it's put itself into a very high position. Like I would be way more forgiving of that reveal in a lesser book. This is me critiquing it on the level of which it's put itself. So just keep that in mind as we're getting to the ratings here. So we giving Dark Patterns?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go straight off the hip and give it a 9.5. I love this issue.
You agreed with my critiques and then hit it with a 9.5.
Sometimes it's just a feeling, Pete. The heart wants what the heart wants.
Okay, I'm going up a point lower. I'm going 8.5. My critiques dragging it down from that 9 position. But obviously, Dark Patterns has been excellent. Dark Waters, as I'm going to call it.
Now I have to go back and see what other books Dan Waters has done. Because I definitely want more. But I did that with Tom Taylor. I've done that with Ramsey. So I think he's the next one to get that treatment.
Batman Gotham by Gaslight, A League for Justice, issue 3. Andy Diggle and Rob Williams writing with Leandro Fernández. Is this the first time Rob Williams has been here as like a co-writer?
I feel like that's because I don't remember in the other issues.
Yeah, it definitely. I definitely didn't have it written down in the. Because I always just go to my last month's for this week and then just edit it.
Yeah.
And that name definitely wasn't there.
Here.
So
I'll go back to the League for Justice 1 and we'll see what's there. So
so this issue we pick up from the Zod kind of meeting Lex Luthor. And immediately he's like, Lex, you're an ant. Don't think I need your help. He's like, no, I'm just a servant. Yes, like all your puny little race. Yes, and then Zod picks up the Kryptonite kind of engine thing that Lex had in his train mech and puts it into his back, which helps fuel him. I don't know if the implication is that this is what gives him powers, because obviously that's not what gives Superman powers, even in this universe. So, so whatever's going on there, but obviously this is Kryptonian tech that he's familiar with. So. Yeah, that sets things up. Ra's al Ghul's like, Constantine, you've got to deal with this. Go find, I can teleport us. I've got the Phantom Stranger's amulet here, but you need to go and deal with some of this. So anyway, we get Clark explaining to the others how he arrived on Earth, or we hear the Native American explain to Clark how he arrived on Earth, and we see that Jonathan and Martha are dead. Clark visits their grave. And talks about how, I found out that, the people I came from are maybe quite terrible, but, I'll try and always make you proud. And I love that he goes over his stand with Bruce and you can tell it's Batman, just because he's all wearing black and whatever else. and the others are all kind of in their civvies. I'm like, Diana looks so different without her like Themyscira armor or whatever.
Yeah.
Like almost to the point where I was like, is that Zatanna? Is Zatanna here now? Yeah. But it's not. It's just Diana.
If it wasn't for the lasso on her hip, right?
Yeah.
You know, but I do love that Bruce says, that perhaps we're not unalike, right? And he's like, no man chooses his own blood, nor may he be judged for it. Well, I like that sentiment.
Of course he's saying that. He just watched a man go up to a grave that says Martha and get all teary-eyed. Like, he relates to him more than he ever could right now.
Yeah. The good old Martha.
Why, in fact, did you say that name, may I ask, sir? So they go to Luther's factory because that's like naturally they want to investigate. Superman rips the vault door off and they go in and they actually find both Cyborg and Flash, who's still in the containment center. So Cyborg collapses in front of them. Cyborg's been trying to save Jay Garrick, who's inside the containment field. And he's basically been in this like flux state of like, is he matter? Is he energy? And they actually have to go into his mind. Like Martian Manhunter like goes into his mind with Cyborg to explain to him, hey, you have to pick which state of matter you are. And it works. Like, he kind of becomes whole again and becomes a person and comes walking out of the containment field. So we're kind of completing the set here. We've got like the whole league coming together. And then we go to Argentina, where Adam Strange is trying to explain that he needs to speak to the president because bad stuff's coming and it's important. And they look at him like he's a crazy man. They don't believe a word he's saying. But then when he gets thrown out, Diana's there with Martian Manhunter, and they come in and they're like demanding they take action. So. Yeah, so it's basically like everyone's like came together, they found Flash and Cyborg, and then they've kind of split up into teams to go do other stuff that needs to be done around different places. So Batman's sparring with Julie Pennyworth, and Talia shows up, demand like what because she's kind of wanting to stop all this now. Doesn't even care about the kryptonite or the ring anymore because we're past that. We have to deal with other stuff. So Batman goes looking for Selina and finds Constantine instead. And Constantine just gets kind of cocky, like calls him Mr. Wayne, says they're on the same side, all that kind of usual thing. But he realizes that Constantine's stalling and that Selina must be nearby. I think he also smells her perfume. So he chases Catwoman up a bridge. Some of the more fun art here in this section of like running up the side of this bridge, up into the middle bit, and so like it's all setting this stuff up. Basically, the thing that she stole was the journal of like everything that all the Kryptonian age stuff, and Catwoman's trying to like run away with it and is almost about to throw it into the water, or maybe she's just taunting him with it. But
yeah, so she's definitely taunting because she's made it to the smokestack of a ship that's passing under the bridge.
That's right. She's on her way, like she's jumped from the bridge onto the ship, and she's like just sort of taunting him as she's leaving. But then an arrow with a tether goes into the book and pulls it back. And it's actually Huntress, which Batman makes clear. Wait, Julie? So Julie Pennyworth is Huntress here in their Gaslight world. So, hey.
Yep. She has a crossbow. She has the ears, that go up off the mask. So pretty cool. Wasn't expecting a Huntress, like, at all. So that's cool.
Yeah, and Zod goes to where Themyscira used to stand and is like, hey, my gate to the Phantom Zone, where is it? They've destroyed it, the bastards. And he ends up like blasting everyone with heat vision because he's pissed. And then the cliffhanger is the Justice League show up. Admittedly, no Cyborg
or
Flash, but the others are there. Talia's with them, and basically we get the name drop of the book where like Zod's like, oh, a league for vermin, and Superman's like, no, a league for justice. End of issue. I mostly enjoyed this issue. I think my one complaint might be is that it feels like it's maybe rushing through some plot points a little bit. The fact that we get
the one.
I was gonna say the fact that we get them coming together and then splitting up, and then the cliffhangers them coming together again at the end feels like a bit too quick, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. So like the Flash, I would have liked more build up to this, right? So like what he was fully doing with Luthor that led to him getting stuck in that perpetual loop. And I do like that they send Manhunter in to talk with him, right? And get through, but I'm still kind of confused on how they got him out, right? Well, because it said that he could either choose matter or energy.
Yeah.
Right? And so he chooses the matter way. And was he just locked in the state that he didn't realize what was going on? And that's what was going on? You know? Or like, had he chosen the energy? What if he just exploded into nothingness? Right? So yeah, I'm just kind of confused on what exactly led to this. I know it was an experiment from Luthor, right? So I'd like to have a little bit more time on the Flash build-up, before we get here. Cause
I don't think we need build-up. I think that's the wrong way to look at it. I think it just needed to be, once they go into his head, that should have probably been most of the rest of the issue. And like once they were in their head, they'd maybe see the backstory of how he got, worked with Luthor, how the experiment happened that turned him into this. Like that kind of thing. I don't think it needed to be built up before that point. I think it was fine to reveal it once we're in his head, but it does feel kind of strange that we go into his head and then like 3 pages later, that's it. Job done. He's out. Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah.
I felt like the rest of the issue should have been like them in his head, try to like convince him of like where he is and that he can fix it. And then maybe occasionally cut out to the real world and show the others looking around the lab and finding like other evidence of things Luthor's been doing or whatever. But it's almost like there's X amount of plot they want to get to by issue 6 because that's when it's going to end, and like maybe it's just a case of like they only got 12 issues for their entire story, but the ideas they had were really enough for like maybe 20 or 25 or something, and they're kind of just barreling through some of the ideas. I mean, that said, the ideas themselves are mostly pretty good and I'm enjoying most of the moments, but it's not quite the special story that it could be. And I think the first like 1 or 2 issues of the original book that they did like kind of implied that it could be, because it's just sort of having to fire through so much of the team forming so quick that because if you go back to that first half, like the first 6 issues, it felt like we spent 5 issues building to just seeing Superman, and somehow by issue 3 of this we've got every single member and they're all like together and like everyone and, like, it feels like it sped up too much.
Right. No, we did, and we got a Luthor mech train, and now we got Zod, and then we got Roz, and it's just boom, boom. They're giving us all this stuff here, and I don't feel like we're given enough time to fully like absorb it into this world. We're just we're moving on so quick, and that's why I like the Constantine stuff, because we had a slower build up to that, and like when he shows up and he knows that Batman's Bruce, and just that whole cocky swagger, it all fit because we had time to spend with Constantine before all of this. So it's definitely a mixed bag of stuff. I mostly do like what we're getting because I do love this steampunk Justice League. And I want to see how this Zod's gonna work out, and he's trying to get into the Phantom Zone to release his army, right? That overtook Mars.
Yeah.
Right. And how does the Kryptonite affect him like that? Like what's up with that? So and it's not also lost on me that we have 3 of Bruce's love interests here, right? We have Julie, who's the Gotham by Gaslight one. Then there's Talia, and then there's Selena. So again, just throwing these characters here, and I like seeing them in that in that form. But yeah, there's just seems like there's a lot going on and not a lot of space.
Yeah, it feels like the initial build-up felt really well-paced, and then it's kind of sped up by the end of those 6 issues, and now this half of it's just been really quick from the get-go. Which maybe is just a critique of the writing, maybe it's a critique of like, oh, this should have been twice as many issues so they could really like explore all this at a nice pace. But I mean, I'm still having a decent amount of fun. Like it's an easy read. But it does feel like it's maybe not quite living up to what it could be. So take that for what you will.
And also the Alan Scott having the same facial hair as Green Arrow. Every time I see him, I go, oh, there's Ollie, right? Because he's got the green. He has the mustache beard combo. And I have to constantly remind myself that that's Alan Scott, you know? But yeah, no, I love that page at the very last page with them assembled and Superman up there in the front. I think that looks really cool. So at least we're getting these big moments delivered on. So, you know.
Yeah. All right. What are you giving League for Justice issue 3?
I'm going to give this a straight 7.
Yeah, I think it might just scrape to it, but I was thinking like a 6.5, but like, I mean, it was still a pleasant enough time. Like, I'm not mad at it, so I think I'll agree with the 7. All right. Superman, the Kryptonite Spectrum, issue 2, W. Maxwell Prince writing with Martin Morazzo on the art. So last issue kind of ended with the tease of like Superman getting bigger with that second Kryptonite, and this issue does the whole like starting off a little bit further into the story where Superman is giant and fighting Atom Smasher in the middle of Metropolis, and some of the Justice League are kind of around trying to like figure out what to do. And it's like, okay, he's big, but he's also apparently been shot by a red kryptonite missile from Lex Luthor, which has turned him into an asshole as well. So now he's a stomping 100-foot tall Superman.
It's kaiju Superman. It's hilarious. Like, it's so fun. Like, and he pushes Atom Smasher down and telling him that, you know, because the climate crisis, the never-ending barrage of catastrophes, they did it to themselves, right? And, you know, there's all these big things going on, but now we also have a giant Superman wrecking Metropolis. Yeah. What a book.
So they also tease that Chemo is on his way to Metropolis, and that's when the book flashes back to the start of the timeline, if you will, where Superman's just started getting bigger. Batman's trying to figure out, okay, the makeup of the polymers or whatever look like this, but the next kryptonite, the speckled kryptonite's the inverse. So there's a good chance that that'll probably have the opposite effect and put you back down to normal size. But he keeps getting bigger, and they're not really sure what to do about it. He gets big enough that his head starts sticking out the top of the fortress, and his feet stick out the sides, and they're like, crap, like, what are we going to do? Batman actually has to get in the Batwing so he can like get up and talk to him at like sort of eye level. So Superman's like, look, eventually they're going to like notice me on radar and things like that because I'm huge. I'll tell you what, I'll go to Metropolis and we'll get Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen to put out the truth. Right? A story just saying, hey, this is just Superman. He's really big, but he's not. Don't fear him. He's fine. Like, and Batman's like, didn't you just break up with her? It's like that doesn't have anything to do with this. Like I still trust her as a reporter. So that's his plan. He's going to go into Metropolis and just sort of casually hang about, and he meets Lois and Jimmy. Now, one of my favorite running gags in this issue, though, is the opening scene teased that Green Lanterns like evacuated a bunch of people from one of the buildings that was in danger of the kaiju fight, and one of the women complains that my life's work, that database, that spreadsheet that I spent all that time on, is gone. And Green Lantern John Stewart makes a little dig about, oh, you should press Control S a lot if you're working on something important. But in the moment, it's not like a much of a thing. But the payoff to it is that when we're building up to that same part of the timeline and we go into the side of this building, this woman is talking about this spreadsheet and how she's working on it like the entire time, and she doesn't care that there's a kaiju Superman walking around. It was legitimately pretty funny. Like, you know, they thought of a funny bit and they kept sticking to it, which kept making it funnier.
This woman cares about that spreadsheet more than I've cared about anything in my whole life. And the fact that she didn't ever think to hit, what did he say, Control S to save it every couple of minutes. It's like, oh, lady, you brought upon your own demise.
But some of the things she's saying, though, she's sitting at the computer when everyone else is watching at the window. She's like, I'm like the Da Vinci of data management. Yes. I'm like, there's no set of data that I can't wrangle into a nice handy spreadsheet and tabs. Like, it's I don't know. I was cackling at all of this. It was just like a good sense of humor.
4 years of quarterly revenue, cost of goods sold and taxes by state, right? So that's all in one bubble, and then the bubble attached to it, the font gets smaller so she can keep expounding on all the stuff that's on here. And I thought that was a very funny gag, you know?
Yeah. So Lex is asking his scientist, like, crony, hey, what do you suggest? And he says, well, we've got chemo at that, like, you know, off-site, like, lab.
In New Mexico.
Yeah, who's giant. And he's like, that's a good idea. But then the scientist sort of thinks about it and goes, actually, sir, maybe we shouldn't, because, like, who knows how much of Metropolis will get cancer if chemo's, like, around. Like, he has, like, 4 times the radiation levels of Chernobyl. But he walks, or maybe the other scientist says that when they're told to let him free. Yeah. But like, I was like, okay. I love that Lex is like, oh, I don't care, no biggie. Like, it's fine.
Yeah. And then he tells him that he's like, no, I don't want my 401 to disappear like, quote, the polar ice caps, or my wife and kids to die from inexplicable home gas leak. Yes, sir. So it's just like, Lex is just threatening this man to poison all of Metropolis just to fight Superman with this chemical monster. Yeah. So, he's a real POS.
Batman's trying to make a cannon that can deliver the correct kryptonite to shrink him back down, back at the fortress. And Superman's talking to Lois and Jimmy when Lex shows up in his power armor and fires his red kryptonite missile. And I do appreciate that everyone knows what's happened here. Like, everyone knows this is red kryptonite. They know why he's acting this way. There's no confusion. But you get the big full page spread of him looking down, stomping around, being like, Metropolis, be afraid. So, you know, and that gets us pretty much to where the issue started. The fighting continues. Batman fires the kryptonite, the speckled kryptonite at him, which shrinks him down. And they also sort of, like, they have to get him shrunk down so they can blast him with some green kryptonite as well to fix the red. So that does that. And when Superman's back to being normal, he's like, oh shit, chemo's like attacking the bridge into the city. I need to do something about that. Superman basically punctures a hole in chemo and uses like a tube or like a hose as a straw and drinks all the radioactive material that makes up the inside of chemo so that it can't get to the rest of Metropolis, even though it might still do some damage to him because it's radioactive liquid.
It's very Golden Age, Silver Age Superman dealing with a problem, right? Like there's a planet on the way to hit Earth, so he flies up and at max speed knocks it out of the collision.
And sure enough, like
here,
chemo's like shell like collapses into the water, and Superman's like stumbling around, like spitting out radioactive material. And there was a tease earlier that they were waiting on someone else from the Justice League, and the only clue we had. Yeah, well, they didn't say kid, but they just said the clue we got was that he, like, you know, maybe he'll say that his dog ate his homework again, right? They don't specifically say kid, they say that. And then when you get to the end of the issue, you hear this bubble from off panel saying, you know, my dog actually did eat my homework this time. And then the reveal on the last page is that this was Captain Marvel, Shazam. But that's only part of the last page. The other part of the last page is that whatever effect the radioactive gunk combined perhaps with the kryptonite effect still.
The speckled.
Yeah. It's de-aged Superman, and he looks like Superboy, and that's what Shazam says. He's like, "Is that Superboy?" Yep. And everyone's freaking out. So that's the cliffhanger. He's de-aged to a teenager, and also Captain Marvel's here, and they call him Captain Marvel in the next time one.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Yeah, which is huge, and I also like that it says in the caption, it has the man and Superman crossed out, and then boy written over it. I thought that was very funny. And then all of the allusions to Alice in Wonderland through here, like Batman uses the riddle that I forget who he says it in the original story of how is a raven like a writing desk, right? And that goes on through, and then the way that Superman keeps growing up through the Fortress of Solitude.
Well, to just clarify, he says that because he knows that because the Mad Hatter said it to him. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Mad Hatter.
The Mad Hatter in the original story, yeah. I don't know the Alice in Wonderland story from the book that well, but yeah, he says that it's the Mad Hatter. but then there's the allusions to the Disney cartoon where she grows, she eats the thing or drinks the thing that makes her grow, and she, the foot comes out through the door and her head comes up to the roof. Same way that Superman comes up through the fortress, which I thought was a lot of fun. And then they talk about using the opposite with the spectacled kryptonite and
speckled.
Very similar. Speckled. Thank you. And it's very similar to the eat me, drink me stuff from Alice in Wonderland. So whole lot of fun. This is one of those books also that I saw came out this week where I went, oh yeah, I get to read this week. That's definitely a good week because this was a whole lot of fun.
Yeah. I think the pacing was even like the one thing I complained about in issue 1 was the pacing was a bit weird because it was so wordy for the first chunk.
Yeah.
I think this issue kind of got around that because it just started off with the action, it teased some of the big stuff happening, and then had a good pacing throughout till we got to the end, and all the stuff that they were doing was fun. Chemo coming in was fun. Lex being just absolutely evil and not caring if he turns half the city into a cancer-ridden mess. Also, just all that. I like that characterization, and the art's very kind of solid and very consistent. It's not, it's very simple layouts where there's choices being made over which panels are in boxes and which go all the way to the gutters, and when there's negative space used, but everything's rectangles and squares. There's no wonky panel shapes. There's no anything like that. It's all simple shapes, but there is intentional thought going into the layouts, but it makes it feel very consistent and arguably kind of old school, even though it's not just doing a grid like an old Silver Age comic would do. It's a bit more in-depth than that, but it does feel like it's sticking to those straight boxes because it wants to feel kind of old school as well. At least that's why I think.
Yeah. Like when Luthor dons his power armor, right? The way that goes, where each of the panels makes up a piece of what goes on to him, but just the way that it goes, it looks like it's enveloping him as we read. So it's a really fun piece of breakdown.
Yeah, it feels like close-ups. If you're watching this in a movie, it feels like the camera's getting close for certain things clicking into place, and then you get the big panel at the bottom with him standing in his outfit, which is a bit pointier than it usually is, I'll say, in this design. But yeah, no, I had a good time. It was a fun read.
Yeah,
and credit to it for being twice the length of a regular issue, pretty much. It didn't feel it felt longer in the sense that I definitely knew it was longer, but it didn't feel like a chore to get through. I wasn't thinking in the back half, oh god, this is going on forever kind of thing.
Yeah, no. In fact, when I got to the end, I was kind of shocked just because the pacing was so brisk. It snuck up on me. So yeah, a lot of fun.
All right, well, we'll see what happens with the Superboy shrinking next issue. What are you giving Kryptonite Spectrum issue 2?
I'm gonna give this an 8.5.
I think I'm inclined to agree with that score. I think I agree with that score. It was a good time. So no, fun having a Black Label book that's not as much as there've been a lot of good Batman ones. It's nice to have a Superman one. So. All right. Well, next up's our Patreon's pick, which we have a vote now every month, and the vote for this month, the winner, just squeaking by the victory line against Batgirl issue 2, the old Cassandra Cain series, was C.O.R.T. Children of the Round Table issue 1, which is Tom Taylor writing with Danielle Di Niccolo on art, and this is a new issue this week, so we just did it the week it came out. This was one that wasn't really one that we were going to do by default because I don't like King Arthur stuff is the short answer.
Yeah, and I do. I don't have time for this kind of book, right? I read so much stuff as is, so it just would have fallen by the wayside. If I heard good things, maybe I'll read it when it gets collected, along those lines.
But it won the vote, so we're here to check it out. And it is Tom Taylor, so I wasn't like going into it thinking, oh, it's going to be a complete chore, because I assumed like, you know, it'd have his skill, the characters would probably be likable enough, and I do think the structure of this is pretty good. I think the characters are all very instantly kind of memorable in their personality. You've got the main blonde kid who's a little bit of a shit. You've got the redhead girl who, you know, kind of like you know, they're playing football or soccer for the Americans, and which I guess makes sense because it's technically in England. Like she beats him, she scores a goal and celebrates, and he feels a little bit emasculated by it. And you know, it turns out they're all part of like a group who are going to go on this like adventure, this RPG style adventure with one of their friends. The main kid doesn't really want to go because he feels butthurt, but he does end up going anyway. But you know, there's a lot of personality, in particular the two main kids. But then once we get to the rest of them, very quickly you get a sense of who each of them are. Like one's definitely more the tech kid, one's more the kind of the hipstery, all that kind of thing. But the main kid's just been a little spoilt sport the entire time. He keeps saying, "Oh, I've been on this trail with my grandfather. He's got a bad hip. None of this matters. Stop taking this so seriously." Because the other kids like all like didn't bring their phones because like the I guess we'll call him the dungeon master. His rules are no phones. Like we are totally immersed in the adventure. But the main kid whips out his phone and is like, blah blah, who cares? Like, so he's been a little brat the entire time.
Yeah, and you instantly get to know their dynamics between their conversations, and them talking about, you know, the one kid, it's Randall, who's like the dungeon master. He's talking it up like it's going to be this big epic quest, and we're going to go to a cave. And Connor, funnily enough, is the spoil sport.
That's right. How can I forget? It's such a perfect fit.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I did this with my grandma, and she had 3 hip replacements, you know, and you know, that was one more than she needed, and this type of stuff. And so you kind of already get their group dynamics, that they're friends, but there's bickering, and there's going to be, you know, there's always going to be a bit of tension between them. Also, being that they're kids.
There is a dog, so this Connor may get injured if he's not careful. Just
absolutely.
Putting that
it's a big dog. Even Phil, who's our main girl with the red hair, her mom says, you know, we got a dog, and Phil's like, yeah, but I wasn't expecting it to be so massive, you know. And so yeah, big huge dog that goes on with them. And yeah, I'm sure it'll become endeared to us if we keep reading this. But there's a giant meteor, if you want to call it that, like crash lands next to them. And this was teased at the start of the book. There was like a scene in like a lab where they're like, "Oh, it's time for a new generation because the Arthur meteor is leaving," or something. But it crash lands next to them, and there is like a big panel where it's like rolling towards them, like the Indiana Jones ball. So like fair play for the fun elements. So for me, like where the issue starts to run into the hurdle for my personal thing, where I just don't give a shit about King Arthur stuff, is obviously they look up and there's a sword in this big rock, right? That's just crash landed, and they're like, what's that? And Connor tries to pull it out and he can't, right? He's like, it's stuck, it doesn't work, and he's really trying. He's biting his lip and he's going all red, and then the girl, right? Fel goes up, takes it. She says, "Oh, I feel something," and it starts to glow, and she pulls it out. And we get the whole holding it above her head kind of moment, sword in the stone, full page spread, and they're all like, whoa, that can't be. But then the rock explodes and they all have weapons fly towards them into their hands. And it's all color coded as well. It's almost Power Rangers-esque, where there's like one blue weapon, one purple weapon, so on, so on. And they're all very different weapons. Like one gets a spear, one gets like a weird like head, like helmet thing. It's like a helm, yeah.
One gets like a big sort of, I'll call it a drill, I guess. It's got like a pointy thing that looks like it spins. But
it's like a traditional lance that you would see them joust with.
But much thicker.
It's got the handle.
Yeah, but it looks super...
that's what I'm. Yeah. But it's really thick. Yeah. But yeah, this is where it started to lose me because it became a typical.
It's got girth. It's got girth, Matt.
Girth. Yeah, it's gonna be two-hander. Right? I shouldn't say this in a kid book. That was bad. Bad, Matt.
This show is not for kids. We're talking to some kids may be listening, but whatever.
Yes,
grow up, children.
Anyways, this is where it started to kind of lose me because it started to become more of that formulaic Power Rangers, VR Troopers, Beetleborgs, Saturday cartoon kid thing.
Here's the thing. I would be into that because I grew up with those shows if it wasn't King Arthur shit. Because then the weapons start talking to them and it's like, oh, like one of them's like Gawain, one of them's Lancelot. One of them, and I'm like, oh, and this is the point where they're saying that, like, because they don't say their own names, they kind of start bickering with each other, like the kids were bickering with each other, which I get the parallels there. That's smart writing, so fair play, Taylor. You know what you're doing. Like the book's well written, but like one voice from a sword like says, "Oh, shut up, Lancelot," to like the other weapon, and they also like say each other's names, and I'm like. The mere thought that I'm going to like recognize all these names and like instantly be able to like tell which one's which is like so far away from reality that there's no way, okay?
I'm gonna remember the knights' names easier than these kids' names. I'll tell you that much. But I also like Arthurian legend, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think it's funny though that one kid just gets a stick to the point where when he like the first panel where he was holding it, I was thinking, wait, you didn't get one? But then he says, oh no, I get a stick, and I'm like, oh okay. And his is the only one that doesn't talk. Now I'm assuming the joke payoff to this in like an issue or 2 issues time is that this stick's going to end up being the most badass weapon because it's going to transform or something.
Well,
but
yeah. Don't forget that Merlin was also kind of a druid, and
it's a wand?
Used earth magic. Maybe it's a wand, and maybe this is how Merlin factors in, or maybe just a part of a tree exploded. And he thinks it's a weapon. He got left out, and he just has a stick.
Yeah. So the voices say, "Hey, we're going to train you all how to fight, but today's not the day to do that." They're coming, and they're like, "Who's coming?" And they're like, "The Mordred." And I assume if you know King Arthur shit, you know what that means, but I don't. So
yes.
So the issue ends with them running off. So it's like, hey, we're going to train you to be fighters, blah, blah, blah. The art is obviously very high quality. It's going for this very kind of, kid-friendly, cartoony kind of approach. The kids' faces are all very, not super over-accentuated, but they're a bit rounder to give it this kind of playful vibe.
It gives me manga vibes, but it's not quite manga. But it's in the family.
It's in the family. It's the second cousin of manga. Yes.
Yeah, and I remember when Di Nicolo did Nightwing. I believe it was the first time we saw Night Mite. I want to say so they went into Blockbuster's kids realm, right, with the daughter, and they had to help her. So I see that, and again, this is not to my taste in art. It's fine, but a lot of the way that the kids' faces were drawn and stuff, again, that's not to my taste.
I do like the coloring though. Like, everything's very clean. Yes. Everything's very vivid. Like I do think it's making right choices for the book that it's supposed to be. Yeah. And I do think some of the kids are kind of instantly likable. Not Connor, obviously, but the group dynamic is there. So I think Taylor, he's still a good writer. He still knows what he's doing here, and it still works to a point. But the point where it hits where it's like doing stuff that I just do not care about, because like I literally like my eyes will start to roll and I'll groan the second you start talking about King Arthur stuff. That's how I felt, and I'm like, if this was Power Coins and they were becoming Power Rangers, I would be all into it. But it's not. That's not exactly what this is.
Give them dinosaur machines and we're good. You give them swords and Arthurian legend, Pete's out.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that I was even quite enjoying this until the weapons started talking, and that was when it all just kind of was like, okay, you're going to start bringing in the lore, you're going to start talking about the history of King Arthur and his round table and all that bollocks. And I knew I wouldn't like it, which is why I didn't want to read this. And the patrons decided to make us read it, and that's fine. But this is your issue. I mean, maybe issue 2 will be on the vote for next time, like depending on how many issue 1s I can find for the next vote. But I'm not choosing to read the next issue, so it is what it is. But I think it's well written. I think the art style is appropriate for what it's doing. I just ultimately do not like the mythology that it's tapping into. I actively am repelled by it. For whatever reason, I've just always been just like, repelled's a good word, because I don't want to say disgusted, because that's too strong.
No, it's because you're Scottish and you have no time for the English legends. You're just like, nah, we're up here. Y'all keep that stuff down there.
I appreciate that joke, but I think it's just because it's like more fantasy, and I'm not into fantasy generally speaking. So
yeah,
you know, I also don't like other things that are like, you know, I don't like Lord of the Rings, for example.
Yeah, I came to Arthurian legend through the show Gargoyles, and so that's where it all comes through for me. So I got more into it, and it's good. This is fine. You already have, if you know anything about the Knights of the Round Table, hearing them bicker like this, you know, the kid who has the issues with Fell, so Connor and Fell, of course they're going to end up having the ones that are Lancelot and Arthur, because, you know, Lancelot was Arthur's right hand, you know, and there's the whole thing with Lancelot and Guinevere and Arthur. And,
which one's Liv Tyler?
There's always that tensions. Liv Tyler that was in Lord of the Rings, right?
No, she was also in... Oh, no, it wasn't Liv Tyler. It was Keira Knightley who was in King Arthur. That's what I was thinking of.
Yes. Yeah, I got very confused because Liv Tyler's in Lord of the Rings, and I thought you were purposely making a joke that it's all the same.
No. I was just mixing up my brunettes, that's all.
Yes. Keira Knightley was a version of Guinevere, but she was more of a... In that version, they play up with the barbarian, you know, the Celtic tribes of England. So, you know... Arthur being a Roman.
Oh, I don't care. I was just making a joke.
Yes. So, anyways, yeah, I'm sure it was fine. Like, I didn't hate reading it, but again, I'm not inclined to want to read issue 2. We'll see how that goes.
I feel like you're being too negative, bizarrely, because I think it's a good book that's well written. I just dislike the thing it's doing. I just dislike the premise.
I like the kids' dynamics and stuff. Like, again, I just thought it was fine. I mean, look, I wanted to read Batgirl issue 2. That's what it comes down to, you know.
Oh, so you're being resentful. You're blaming the patrons.
A bit.
Okay.
A bit.
Hey,
and I know the vote was close too. I'm trying to sway votes, and I know, just like everything else, it'll backfire on me. So I'm digging my hole here.
Hey, I'll be on the next vote. Batgirl issue 2 will be there. We might be reading that next month. It depends. I'll have to look and see what's coming out in October. No, October. We're in September, and we'll see what wins. But yes, what are you rating C.O.R.T, Children of the Round Table?
I am going to give this a straight 7.
I think that's perfectly fair. I think I'll agree with it. I think I'll agree with that. I have no interest in reading any more, but we'll give the patrons a chance to make us. But I feel like after this review, though, I don't know why you'd want to make us review it, because we're just going to have the same conversation again, I think. So I don't know if there's any real reason to. If anything, I'll just be more annoyed because it'll be more steeped into the mythology because they'll be talking about it more.
Oh, I already know what's going to happen. As this book gets going, I'm going to like it more, and you're going to like it less, and our things will cross, and that's how it'll go, you know?
Yeah. All right. So every month at patreon.com, at one of the higher tiers, you can just make me read a book of your choosing. And often it's classic stories or even non-DC stuff. But interestingly, Tyler picked the Red Hood book. So we talked about it in the news, of course, earlier on. The controversy around it and be cancelled. So now it's not going to have any continuation. But this is a Red Hood issue 1, written by Gretchen Felliker Martin and art by Jeffrey Spokes, who I think we recently saw on that Jenny Sparks series that Tom King did. The art is pretty good, actually. If anything, I like the art here more than I did in Jenny Sparks. So credit where credit's due. So yeah, it's interesting getting into this because there's obviously a lot of heat behind it now, and even without the controversy of the comments and the being fired and all that, apparently I didn't know this until today because I was just looking stuff up, but apparently there was some controversy from Red Hood fans before the book even came out, because
wait, what? There's Red Hood fans?
Oh yes, and they were upset about this because the writer had said, apparently, I don't know if it was in an interview or on social media or whatever, but had said at some point after the book was announced or solicited that she'd never read a Red Hood comic and didn't really care about what had come before. And Red Hood fans were not pleased by this. However, as someone who does not like Red Hood, that is the best sales pitch I have ever heard for your Red Hood comic.
Sure. But like, let's say Guy Gardner, who's a character that you don't care for and I love. If there was a new Guy Gardner book and I had heard that the writer had never read a Guy Gardner story, they're going in fresh, I'd be a little annoyed, but I would still be like, all right, let's see what this take on Guy Gardner is. Yeah, man. Rough looks already. And then so I pulled up the solicit. So I anytime we talk about these, I pull up the information from League of Comic Geeks, and it always has the solicit.
Yeah.
And do you know what the main part of this, the first line in the solicit, Pete? Do you know what it says?
I don't know. What does it say?
Erupting from the events of Hattush comes DC's first ever in continuity mature readers ongoing Red Hood. And I saw that and I'm like, oh boy.
All right, hold on. Right, okay, on that. Okay, yes, this is set after Hattush, and Jason makes multiple references to things going bad with Bruce, and that's why he's not in Gotham. So this is actually set after Hattush, but we won't get the end of Hattush. In fact, we won't even get the end of part 1 of Hattush until January. So there's that, right? That's going on. Secondly, that mature readers part, I did not know that. There's an F-bomb in this issue, and I went, wait a minute. Why is that not censored? What's going on? So that caught me off guard. So here's the weird thing. So some Red Hood fans are very upset that the Red Hood is out of character in this issue. They think he's written out of character. I actually don't think he's that out of character, but they think he's out of character, so fair enough. I don't know if that's just like because of what the writer said before is clouding their expectations, so they're going in looking for anything that doesn't quite match up with what they think he is. People also think Huntress is out of character, who's also in this. I feel like she's just kind of underwritten, but she's only in like 2 scenes in this issue, so I feel like I'd have to see more of her Huntress to say whether or not. And it's been ages since we've even had it. When was Huntress last around? Like the Tamaki Detective Comics run was maybe the last Huntress stuff we had.
Yeah, that feels like the last time I've really seen Helena Bertinelli.
I think she was maybe in like one issue of like a story in like an anthology book or something, maybe a little bit after that. But
other than that, the most Huntress we've seen was when Johns was doing the JSA, right? And it was Helena Wayne.
Yes.
And she was out of time and stuff. So yeah, Helena Bertinelli I haven't really seen. So this would be her first major appearance. And she said she's only in like 2 scenes or 2 pages. 2
scenes, is what I said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Which is fine, but she's billed as the sort of the secondary lead of the book. She just feels a little bit underwritten because like the only exchange she really has with Red Hood is him saying, "Oh, did Batman send you?" And she's like, "No one tells me what to do. I'm Huntress," and that's basically like her entire shtick. So it feels very just kind of simple in this issue. So the premise of this book is that Red Hood is in a different city. Let me see if I can get the name of it here, because it's not one that I like remember all that much. He's in, oh god, it was like a 2-worded city. Here, New Angelique. That's where he is.
Okay.
So I don't think it's a real place, but I think it's kind of meant to be in like somewhere near Florida, because he keeps talking about the humid heat. Maybe,
okay,
somewhere in that area. Anyway, so the premise of this book is that something called the Tower, right? Some entity, group, whatever, called the Tower, is somehow like brainwashing cops into murdering someone and then kill themselves. And there's like videos of this happening on social media that keep getting taken down, but they keep coming back up. And Jason wants to investigate this and deal with it. Like everyone who's been a victim of this has come from the same police department or has been through that same police department. So he's in the city investigating that. And that's kind of the main thing we get into. So the funny thing about this issue is that I think it's mostly kind of well written, but the weird thing is that I think all of the original characters and the plot are much better and more interesting than Jason himself, or even Huntress, because the back half of the issue, after Jason has a conversation with Huntress, and he has a conversation with this character that he goes to for intel that he knows, who's kind of this like informant with a mask, who's kind of, I don't know, a bit of like a local vigilante kind of vibe from them. He like gets betrayed, right? He goes back to meet them again, and there's like bad people waiting with guns, and you know, Jason's straight up shooting people. Like, you know, they're not holding back on the violence here. Like they've left a bunch of dead people back at this church that they've had this fight on. Huntress ends up showing up to save his ass, and that's the second scene she's in. And after that, though, the last like several pages introduce this detective who comes to the crime scene, sees all these dead bodies, and he's like, "Oh, this is serious shit." Like it's, you know, it's all over the news. They want to find out who this like local vigilante was, because Red Hood, upon being betrayed, shot this vigilante in the face, like straight up kills them, right? And I think this is one of the points that was getting to me here about Red Hood fans not liking this book, is that what's so funny to me is that it feels like it's actually doing a lot of the things that the Red Hood books have never been allowed to do. Like, he's like far away from Batman, right? We're not just constantly talking about how he's mad at Batman and that he's having to use rubber bullets and like work around things. No, he is straight up murdering people, and he's far away from Batman, and like it's an M-rated book, so he's allowed to do that. And it feels like they're really going out of their way to be, this is DC's Punisher. Red Hood is the DC Punisher.
That seems like a good corner to be on, right? Like there's not really anything like that. So and that's always what I kind of associated Jason with, and over the times, you know, he's still the, you know, the bastard child of the Bat family, but he's gotten closer with them, and there's been better stories. But yeah, making him have his own unique identity, which kind of is not that unique when you think it's Punisher in DC. But give him that unique identity, and even in the Bat family, give him a new place to be, far away from Bruce. Yeah, that seems like the kind of thing you'd want. So,
I mean, I do think some of the dialogue between him and Huntress is a wee bit weird. Like, he just kind of says, "Get out, I'm going for a shower." Like, it feels almost like the writer is better doing normal characters than the superhero characters, because like it's like she doesn't know how to make them sound cool, so she's trying too hard. Whereas the detective that gets introduced after the big shootout happens and is like looking at all these dead bodies, we actually follow her home, and she goes to her like husband and she says, "Hey, take the kids out of town upstate, and Internal Affairs is going to be coming down hard on us because of all these like tower phone things that's happening. I want you and the kids out of the city." And he agrees reluctantly. And all of this stuff where it's just the personal life of this detective who's now investigating the case is actually like the most exciting part of the book to me, because it feels like the writer really knows how to do this interpersonal stuff, and it has a bit of a tone. And she gets a call, and I got excited for a second because I thought, oh, she's going to be the next tower like victim. And it's not, it's actually her like partner or whoever, and she sort of talks to him about, but then in the next page after she hangs up, the phone goes again from an unknown caller, and you're like, oh shit, this is it. And sure enough, yeah, like this voice with a creepy like bubble, or like, you know, the speech bubble's got like a crazy kind of like weird effect around it, and it says, "Oh, we know who you are. We are the tower." And like her eyes go kind of weird, where she has like two pupils in one eye. And that's the cliffhanger. The cliffhanger is this detective we've got to know a little bit of by the end is the next person who's going to be forced to kill someone, and then herself. So it gives us some stakes for Jason to actually, I don't know, maybe accomplish something in the next issue and be useful. So I actually thought the back chunk was quite good, because it felt like an interesting premise that was quite dark, and it made me care a little bit about this cop before they pulled the cliffhanger. The actual Jason stuff is just pretty generic, though. Like him narrating about how hot the city is. Oh, you wake up and your sheets are sticking to you because you're so sweaty. It just kind of feels like kind of typical noir / like vigilante comic book character type stuff. It's not terrible, and they are those kind of good throughout though, so that kind of keeps you going, I think. Honestly, it's kind of a fine issue. bordering on good. Even there's parts of it that I like.
Wow.
There's some of the Jason Todd stuff and Huntress stuff was a little bit clunky, but he is just straight up shooting people. The premise is quite dark with this like phone possession thing that's happening. Whoever's doing this, and then it does a good job in the last chunk of setting you up to really kind of care about this character that is the next victim. And obviously we'll never know what the follow-up is because issue 2 is never happening now, but like it felt like there was a story to be told here, and the art is good throughout, so it is kind of a shame it won't continue. Now, would I have kept reading it if someone wasn't going to make me via Patreon? I don't know. It's tough to say because it is still Red Hood, and part of me like almost thinks it's funny to just never read the Red Hood books at this point. Yeah. But it's not bad. Like, it's definitely better than any Scott Lobdell Red Hood issue I ever read, ironically. Someone who also is not allowed at DC anymore because of things that he's done. Much more justifiably so, might I add. So, I don't know. It's all right. It's like a 7. I'm not mad at it. Like, it's yeah, so it's just kind of weird coming into it with all this like weird circle, like 2 controversies. One, the firing and the comments and like the cancellation and people like going on about that, but then also just like Red Hood fans being mad at how a character he is. And I'm like, as someone who doesn't ever like Red Hood, that's actually like perfect for me. Like be more a character. Get away from who he is. That's perfect. Yeah. If anything, just kill him off in the second issue and make it a Huntress book. I'll be fine with that. Like, that's fine.
Turns out they were out of bullets.
Yeah. I also wonder if like part of the decision was because the premise is about people getting murdered like this. Yeah. Like maybe they thought, oh, it sounds like a cool idea to have an M-rated book where there's like really brutal violence. But then the assassination happens this week and they're like, maybe we don't want to have a brutal like R-rated style comic.
Yeah, but I feel like had it not been for the author's words that were
sure.
pulled,
I'm saying
they might have delayed it, right? They might have like, we're gonna push this down the line. And
that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that's the first thought. I'm saying that made it easier to just outright say the book's done. We're just not going to continue the book in any way. It's just gone now from the ether. And that's fine, whatever. It's a shitty decision, just on principle, rather than because I want the book to keep existing, because it's a Red Hood book. I don't really care that much. But it is what it is. But it's not a bad issue, honestly. It's not the most amazing thing ever, but I do think the main premise is interesting, and it does a good job of hooking me at the end. The worst part about it is Red Hood, which is not surprising, I suppose.
The worst part of Red Hood is Red Hood. I mean, that is A plus B equals C,
Yeah, and not that Huntress is great yet either. Like I say, she kind of comes across as like kind of one note angry, like no one tells me what to do kind of like thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah. Not the worst thing ever. It's perfectly fine. I think that the opinions on the internet, and the reason why I noticed some of these complaints is because when I went on to log it on League of Comic Geeks, the average rating was like 2.5, which is pretty low, and I sort of scrolled down to the reviews, and there's a bunch of like 0.5-star and 1-star reviews of people saying it's like the worst thing they've ever read, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Look, just go and read other Red Hood by Scott Lobdell. Like, there's no way in hell you can tell me this is worse than those, because it simply isn't. But anyway, there you go. That's Red Hood issue 1. Hope you're happy, Tyler.
Look what you did.
I didn't read it as well until after all the controversy. I read this today, and I sat down and went, oh god, now there's all this like weird like surrounding stuff on top of just having to read a Red Hood book.
That's funny.
So anyway, there you go. That's Red Hood issue 1. That'll take us out to the final part of the show where we pick our favourite stuff of the week. Favourite panel / moment, favourite cover, favourite art, top 5 books. You know the drill by now. Matt, what is your panel / moment?
Let's see. There's some real good ones in Absolute Batman. You got the whole Harvey sequence. I really enjoyed. That's as a Harvey Dent fan, I think. Dark Patterns has some great moments in them. The babyface hulking monstrosity in there. Also shouts to Superman Kryptonite Spectrum. I love a kaiju Superman. But I think mine this week's going to be something a little bit lighter. And it's going to be from Action Comics. And it's going to be the realization that Superman doesn't have, or Superboy doesn't have super pheromones. That gave me quite the laugh. That entire sequence at the diner, him trying not to put out the super pheromones to Lana because it's not fair to her. And then his utter betrayal, or his feelings of betrayal when it turns out she has a crush on Superboy. Thought that was very well handled.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know what I'm picking yet. I haven't really thought about it.
Yeah.
I mean, the villain locking Gordon in the morgue in Dark Patterns is pretty good. Absolute Batman had that great opening with Croc, which I quite liked. Batman and Robin has a few moments in there that I could probably pick. I think I'm going to go with Kryptonite Spectrum, and I'm going to go with Lex being warned that bringing chemo into the city might give everyone cancer, and then Lex just hand waves it away. I'm going to go with that just because it gave me a good chuckle. Lex being Lex. So that's that. For covers, there's some interesting ones this week. I think I do like the main cover for Birds of Prey. I think it's pretty cool. Oh god, there's a Greg Land variant. Oh, I haven't seen that name in a while. Oh.
Yeah, I didn't click on it.
Oh, no need to click on it. That's fine. There's an interesting Subics cover for Dark Patterns, which I'll shout out, which is cool. I think though my pick, I like the main cover for Absolute Batman, but I think my pick is going to be the Gabriel Dell'Otto variant for Batman and Robin. It's just one of those super painted looking covers, super moody. It's Batman and Robin on the rooftop. It's raining, and you just see all the glow of the city lights from below. Just really simple, effective stuff. What's your cover of the week?
Yeah, so Supergirl has I'm trying to get it to load right now. There is a Adriana Mello variant that's got Kara and Crypto on a ledge sharing ice cream as a dog person. I quite like that one. And then Absolute Batman has a Dennis Cowan cover, right? That's got this big hulking Bruce with his, bat axe and kind of the tendrily cape sort around. Super moody. I thought that was worth shouting out. But my cover of the week is the Gerald Perel variant for Action Comics. And it's got Clark heading to school. And he's got his book bag over his shoulder. And it looks like there's an S, like an inverted S on his, Made in the Shadow. Looks kind of painted. I like it. So that's going to be mine.
All right. Art of the week. I have to think about what the next one was. Art of the week.
Okay. So Patridge for Action Comics. Great. Dragotta, Absolute Batman. Also great. Shouts to Fico Ossio for Batman and Robin. But I got to give it to Hayden Sherman for Dark Patterns.
Sure.
Water's wet. Hayden Sherman's great. That's where we're at.
Yeah, it's tough. Mostly shouting out the same ones. Although I think I'm going to actually give it to Dragotta for Absolute Batman.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, just a smidge. I think I'm going to edge it to Dragotta. All right, top 5 books, Matt. On you go.
All right, number 1's gonna be Batman Dark Patterns. 2 is gonna be Action Comics. 3 is gonna be Absolute Batman. 4 is Superman the Kryptonite Spectrum, and then 4 is Batman and Robin.
That was 2 4s, but yeah, 5 is the last one, I assume.
5. I'm so sorry. I wasn't thinking.
Okay, my number 1 I think is Batman and Robin. My number 2 is Absolute Batman. My number 3 is Dark Patterns. 3 Bat books in a row, jeez. 4 is Action Comics, and 5 Kryptonite Spectrum. Yeah, so I think same 5 books, just jumbled in a slightly different order. Yeah, Birds of Prey would be up there if it wasn't for that confusing as shit ending. Like,
yeah,
I really like most of that issue, but that ending just, dropped it.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what's coming next week from DC Comics then, everyone. We have Absolute Flash issue 7, Nightwing 130, World's Finest 43, Batman and Robin Year 1 issue 11, The New Gods issue 10, Titans 27, Krypto the Last Dog of Krypton issue 4, Justice League Red issue 2. We have The Batman Second Night issue 1. That'll be I'm looking forward to that. Curious to check that one out. And then there's some Batman Day editions of some things that are going to be free or cheap in your local comic book stores, and there's your usual facsimiles and whatnot. Most of them Batman related this week because of the Batman Day. But yeah, Matt always loves Batman Day, and it's always on the Saturday, which means we'll be recording on Batman Day once again.
Weird. Superman
had the whole summer. It was summer of Superman. Why are you whinging?
And it was great.
Batman Day is upon us, and Matt's going to have to come in and tell us his top 50 Batman stories. He'll start the show off with that next week.
I hope you guys like Dick Grayson Batman, because we're going through all of them.
There isn't 50 of those.
True. All right, Terry McGinnis, you're up next.
Matt doth protest too much. But yeah, that is the show, everyone. That has been us. You can, of course, support all the content over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You'll get the show a little bit early. You get to vote once a month on the Patreon's choice, and you get access to a monthly exclusive review, which right now is Batgirl Year 1. We'll be doing that later in the month this month, because next week we'll... next week we're doing a Patreon book we have to do, and then we'll do a Batgirl Year 1 on the final week of the month. But issue 2 of that's coming up later this month. You also become a YouTube member and get the same content, if you like, the same exclusive review. But yeah, that is the show, everyone. So thank you to everyone who supports us, and of course you can like, subscribe, give us 5 stars in your podcast app. All those things help us out as well. But that is the show, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.